102.5.
The show is proudly sponsored by Franco Trading, Apollonia City TT Brothers, Ines Fly, and Cologne, Ghana Limited. My name is Senna. The show is produced by Patrick Asford Boyd. If you just joined us, a good morning to you. And like we said, the very first discussion we are having is about the decision by government to maintain cocoa producer price at 475 cedis for the second consecutive season. And the day after that announcement was made, the minority were in a cocoa growing area, and they held a press conference where they complained about the decision by government. And we are joined in the studio for our very first discussion by Honorable Kobna Minta Akando, who is Member of Parliament for Joaboso, to tell us why the minority are so concerned about this issue. Good morning, Honorable.
Good morning, sir.
First time on Alhaji And Alhaji?
No. I've been on Alhaji And Alhaji a couple of times.
Okay, welcome.
I'm not with you. Thank you. It's about time we rise up and defend the cocoa farmers of this country. Okay. Because cocoa has been the backbone of this economy for a very long time. It is the safest, it is the most reliable, it is the commodity that we can continue to depend on, keeping all our environment, being environmentally friendly. And so it is something that governments must concentrate on. It's a very, very sensitive issue. So the concern shouldn't be that of minority alone. And my brother, I was sad on Wednesday. We were in Goso on Wednesday to have a press conference. We engaged the farmers, and I was really sad because some of the farmers were threatening to go and cut down their cocoa trees for other crops. The youth were saying they are demoralized into going into cocoa farming and all that. But if we don't do anything about this situation, my brother, we'll have a big problem. We'll have a very, very big problem at hand. It looks as if this government is cheating the cocoa farmers of this country. We have drawn the government's attention to what we think is irregular, what we think is not realistic, and the president seems not to listen to us. So now, what we are saying, the issues we are raising are pretty simple. We have raised 5 fundamental issues. We have raised issues of unrealistic exchange rate. We've raised, and I'll come to them one after the other. We've raised issues of premium. We've raised issues of cocoa board expenditure, and we've also raised issues of high cost of living. These are the issues we have raised. So if government is coming out to organize any press conference, we are expecting government to react specifically to some of these issues and not to engage in tangentials, whether we are inciting farmers or we are doing politics. Why? If we are raising issues and they are cogent issues and we can do politics, why? Is politics a crime? Who is telling? When they started organizing press conferences in the cocoa growing area when they were in opposition, what were they doing? Were they playing Ampe? So we will not engage in those, trivial issues. These are the issues we have raised, and I'm going to take them one after the other. What we are saying is that we are not saying that the world market price is good. We are not saying that whilst the world market price is going down, government should look at a world market price and then increase the price of the producer price. That is not what we are saying. Okay? We are saying that, look, this is how we calculate the producer price. What they do is that we have what you call the weighted average per month. So you take the average from August last year to this year, okay, somewhere September. If you go to the website, it's there. It is no secret. It's classified information. So you take everything and then you divide it by the number of months, say 12 months, okay, and you get the weighted average. This is clear. So government should come and explain to Ghanaians how they went about their formula. When we did our calculation, we realized that the average FOB was around $2,267 per ton. Government says no, we are taking $2,200 per ton. We say we don't have a problem. We'll go with you with your own figure. So are you listening? Yeah. So there's no bone of contention about the world market price at all. We have agreed with government. So if I hear the argument that the world market price is decreasing and you are expecting us to increase producer price, I laugh. We have not said that. They should not set their own questions and attempt to solve them. No. So that in 2020, when they lose and the wet market price is declining, they will come and use the wet market price. And when we were in power, you said when the wet market price is decreasing, we should increase cocoa price. That is not what we are saying. We are telling them that there are a lot of factors that go into the determination of the producer price. It's not only the wet market price. And so now, if you care to know, you can have the wet market price as, let's say, 3,000 per ton. If the exchange rate is around $3 per dollar, 3 Ghana cedis per dollar, and then you have 2,200 and you have about 4.8, certainly the wet market price at 2,200 will give you a higher value in cedi than the dollar. Simple mathematics. Very simple mathematics. So we realize that if you multiply, and so now don't forget that it's not as though government is giving 100% of the $2,200 to the cocoa farmer. After the calculation, government will strike a percentage for the farmer. So irrespective of this hardship, government struck about 76% of the 2,200 to the farmer. Now, we realize that if you multiply the 2,200 Ghana cedis by 4.8, because you agree with me that now if you go even to the black market, a dollar is around 5 Ghana cedis. But let's even take the Bank of Ghana rate, around 4.7, 4.8 thereabout. So if you multiply it, you are obviously getting more than the 475 Ghana cedis per bag. And in fact, 16 bags of cocoa makes a ton. Okay. So these 2,200 Ghana cedis, dollars, multiplied by the exchange rate, divided by 16 bags will give you a producer price of 1 bag of cocoa. Are you getting the point? Okay. We are going to slowly. We should understand these issues. Now, when we did that, we realized that government could have, based on the exchange rate alone, government could have given not less than 510 Ghana cedis for 1 bag of cocoa. Then we began the investigation. Then what happened? We realized that government used an exchange rate of 4.54 per dollar to a dollar. I get the point. So why is government doing that? Why is government doing that? The response so far from Fifi, they say there's a gentleman at the Cocoa Board who is managing the office of the CEO, the manager to, what's the name? Fifi Board. Yeah. And then he comes and, oh no, I can answer these questions. And they say go on and answer the question. Oh, as at the time we were discussing the loan, that was the prevailing exchange rate. What? My brother, it is not as though when you go and take the syndicated loan, and for your information, we took a syndicated loan of $1.3 billion. It is not as though when you are going to take the syndicated loan, they will exchange it and give you cedis then. That is not it. They will give you dollars. Okay, so the 1.3 you are bringing dollars, and it's not as though you have used the money as at the time. You are now going to use, in fact, for your information, the first tranche of the 1.3 came only yesterday. So why would you use that exchange rate as at that time? In any case, that's another palpable falsehood. In any case, as at the time they came to Parliament, syndicated loan came to Parliament, we were discussing, it was in August. In August, if you go to the Bank of Ghana website, the exchange rate was never 4.5. It was around 4.7. As in August. So even if we should even buy that argument, why 4.5? So we are telling government to use the realistic exchange rate. That is issue number 1. So we are expecting them to answer to this specific issue and stop the tangentials. Let everybody tell us that we are not making sense, and they are making sense. They should respond to this particular issue. Get them to come and answer why they are using 4.5. And all indications, when I was listening to you that you were going to discuss issues about ACL, right? Yeah, ACL. Yeah. And they have predicted that going forward, the city will depreciate. Exactly. Yeah. So you see, as a country, although it is not good for our currency to be depreciating in value, but if we are doing export, it is good for us. Okay, it is when. Are you not in this country where even if the world market price of fuel product, petroleum product is not increased, and then the exchange rate, our CD depreciates, they increase the fuel price. Yeah. You see, we are going to take a bulk of our CD to go and buy. So if we are exporting and we are earning a foreign exchange, and then even even if the strength of the CD is down, we get more CDs. So why is government cheating farmers? They should react. Now, point number 2. We have something we call premium. We get the premium as a result of our quality beans of cocoa. The whole world, we have the best quality. The whole world. Why do we have the best quality? It is as a result of how the farmers dry the cocoa beans, the processing, the fermentation, proper fermentation procedure, and proper thorough drying of the cocoa beans, where the farmer will have to be in the scorching sun, stirring the cocoa beans intermittently, removing all sticks from it, taking his or her time to deal with the cocoa beans. So it is as a result of the cocoa farmer, not government, not any intervention by government. So if there's anything like premium, the premium must go directly to the cocoa farmer. And look at it. We are getting not less than $350 per ton
in the premium.
As a premium. As the premium, my brother. So we are asking government, where is that money? Where is that money? Because if you convert, you have not less than 1.262 billion Ghana cedis, the premium alone. So where is the premium in their calculation? And then again, they came back telling us that, oh, we factored the premium into the determination of the producer price. And we say, we all know the weighted average. This is simple mathematics. You add everything every month, you add it and divide by 12. So where is the premium? If you have considered how much did you add, how much, you should tell us. How much did you add? What is the world market price you took, and how much did you add to arrive at that 2,200? They should tell us. So that money, that particular money, where is it? Now, argument number 3. We are saying that their argument is that, oh, the world market price is not good, and so we are not going to increase. The cocoa farmer doesn't deserve better. We are not going to increase the producer price, the one that goes into the cocoa farmer directly. But my brother, for 2 consecutive seasons, Ghana government has not increased producer price, but the administrative cost at Ghana Cocoa Board is going up and astronomically. And I'll give you some figures. In the cocoa season, we have the upper limit and the lower limit. That's the date. So you hear 2016, 2017 cocoa season. Now this season they have opened is 2018, 2019 cocoa season. So when I mention 2 dates, just understand it. So because it will eat into the next year. Now, in 2016, 2017, which started with us, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. So any production we had in 2016, 2017 was as a result of the measures we put in place in 2015, 2016 that will give birth to 2016, 2017. Are you getting the point? Now, administratively, Cocoa Board headquarters alone, 2016, 2017, when the NDC was in power, they spent 363,528,000 Ghana cedis. Now in 2017 and 2018 cocoa season under the MPP proper, listen to what they spent. Meanwhile, they didn't increase the producer price. Now they spent 537,123,500 Ghana cedis, from in a region of 360 something to 500 and something. That's administrative cost. And I've heard the argument that it is because the production went up. Who told them? Where are they getting their figures from? In 2016-2017 crop year, we had, and it's in the budget. You know, don't forget that they bring all these documents to us when we are discussing the syndicated loan. So we have all the figures. In 2016-2017, the total production we made was 967,400 metric tons. The figure again. In 2016-2017 season, we made 967,400 metric tons. And we spent 363,528,000. And we had this figure. Now listen. When they use 537,123,500 as administrative cost, they had 903,000 metric tons. So there's actually a reduction in the production, a reduction in production, and an increase in administrative cost. Can you imagine? This is only Cocoa Board headquarters. Then you go to Cocoa Marketing Company. In 2016-2017, we spent 74,800,000. 2017-2018, they spent 103,504,500. So all the figures are here. Sometimes you see an increment of about 63.9%. In fact, let me tell you this. There's something they call crop financing. In crop financing, in 2016-2017, they spent 164,050,000 Ghana cedis. Crop financing in 2017-2018, they spent from 164 to 486, 557,000. Can you see these figures? You see, and all irrespective of all these figures, they are giving us 903,000 metric tons. Meanwhile, while these ones are increasing, they are saying that as for the cocoa farmer, the world market price is not good, so it must not increase. Why? Why are they doing this? And as I speak to you now, they are putting up a building very close to the British Embassy, okay, in that area. And so far, they have spent not less than 1 million Ghana cedis on the building for the comfort of the minister, our Greek minister. In fact, per our laws, the Cocoa Board is supposed to be under the finance ministry. But now, the man who is a legal brain and all that as president, we can now see that the minister in charge of Agric is now doing almost everything as far as the cocoa sector is concerned. And they have not also brought any law to parliament to even change that. You see, so whilst they are loosening their belt, they are telling us to tighten our own. The one who planted the cocoa. Then our argument number 5, what we are saying is that he has maintained the producer price. We are telling government that he has not maintained the producer price. He has actually reduced the producer price. And I'll explain. This is because in 2016-2017, in 2015-2016 cocoa season, when the cocoa farmer is giving his or her producer price, he is giving fertilizer free of charge. So he's not supposed to use part of that money to go and buy fertilizer. Are you getting the point? Yeah. Now, you are saying you are maintaining the price at 475 Ghana cedis. The cocoa farmer is going to take part of that money to go and buy fertilizer. And the fertilizer is bought at 80 Ghana cedis per bag. Have you maintained the price? Again, let's do the normal mathematics. In 2016-2017, in my area, one bag of cement was around 24 Ghana cedis thereabout. Now in my area, 1 bag of cement is around 34 Ghana cedis. So the farmer who used to have, let's say, 20 or 27 bags of cement, now with 1 bag of cocoa, he's getting 27 bags of cement. Now he cannot get more than 12 bags of cement. Have you maintained the price? The value of the money, the purchasing power of it, is what we should concern ourselves with, not the paper. Not the paper. It is a value. If the farmer could buy, when I was listening to you, you were talking to a farmer who was doing a brilliant analysis of the fuel. Fuel was 14 Ghana cedis per liter, isn't it? Per gallon. Now it's around in a region of 30 something, 26 or so. Okay?
Over 20, I know.
Over 20 something. You understand? So the number of liters or gallons that the cocoa farmer could use his money for in 2016, he cannot get the same. And almost everything, the hardship, cocoa farmers are not living in isolation. They are in Ghana. And so they feel the hardship. There's no group of people in this country working in any establishment and for 2 consecutive years you will not increase your salary and they'll be looking at you, except farmers. Except farmers. Sometimes I'm very passionate about issues of cocoa because I was born into it. I was bred with cocoa money and I have been voted to represent cocoa farmers. My constituency is the highest producer of cocoa in the whole country. In the whole country. It's pathetic what this government is doing to the cocoa sector if we don't talk about it. Look, let me give you a typical example. Now, while this expenditure is rising, we used to have what you call cocoa rows. Cocoa rows. Yeah. The cocoa rows His Excellency John Dramani Mahama started and couldn't finish. Go and see. Now, when they brought a syndicated loan to Parliament, they have scrapped that portion. There's no money coming from the cocoa that they are going to pump into the construction of roads. So you are not constructing road. You are not adding the premium. You are not using realistic exchange rate. Meanwhile, your expenditure is going up. And you cannot add anything to the cocoa farmer. Let me tell you what we used to do. Anytime the price looks better in the world market price, in the world market, we used to have what you call stabilization fund. So we'll put some money aside for the farmer in times of difficulty. We left not less than 150 million in that account. Where is that money? What they know is globe trotting. They are trotting from one country to the other. The members of Ghana Cocoa Board, they should come and challenge me. They are moving from the countries we do business with as far as the cocoa is concerned, moving from one country to the other. And now, as I speak to you now, one of them fell sick and Ghana government is now treating the person who is currently outside the country. You are using cocoa farmers' money this way. You are using cocoa farmers' money this way. Are you expecting the youth to go into the production of cocoa? Today, as I speak to you now, people are cutting their cocoa for rubber plantation. They are cutting their cocoa for cashew plantation. And my brother, if we don't talk about these issues, we will live to regret. We will live to regret. Look, if you go to Fosu, Hemai, in the central region, when I was coming to your show, I had a farmer called me. You mentioned that I was coming to the show. And so a farmer called me that, look, when they saw that they couldn't get money to buy the fertilizers, some of them said, okay, come, we will give it to you on credit. They bought it, and now they are chasing them for the money, whilst the agreed period or the agreed time has not even reached. And now some of the farmers have been sent to court, and they're using police to harass them all over. We told you that, look, the cocoa farmer, in some months within the year, even if you tell the cocoa farmer to give you 100 Ghana cedis, it will be very difficult. So please, let's give it to them free of charge. The irony here is that you have used the cocoa farmers' money to purchase the fertilizer, and you are selling the fertilizer to that same person. When they came, we used cocoa farmers' money. All these calculations we did, we used the cocoa farmers' money, and then we bought some tons of fertilizers to be distributed to the cocoa farmers free. I said, no, we are not going to agree. We are not going to give it free of charge. We are going to sell it. Where is the money? The money is for cocoa farmers. So give it to them. Where is the money? So my brother, it's a very delicate issue, a very sensitive one that we must be wary of. Now I am telling you that this government is collapsing the cocoa industry. At some point in time, even with this their figure I am telling you, they had to smuggle, and I am saying this on authority, I have challenged them on several platforms, not here alone, that I share boundary with La Côte d'Ivoire. And you could see, and I brought daylight, people smuggling cocoa from La Côte d'Ivoire to Ghana. Irrespective of all these things, they couldn't even match up to the figure we left behind. They couldn't. So we must all be interested that when cocoa money comes, the system becomes a little bit conducive. I mean, the city also gets up a little bit. You understand? So we must begin to be interested in cocoa issues. We should not leave it to those who come from the area alone, so that government will not take cocoa farmers for granted. When we were in power, I remember the last price we determined. They determined the price in the cocoa growing area. I remember Honorable Atto went and organized a press conference. You will go there, take your time, and explain to the people how you arrive at the formula. We took this figure. This is why we are taking this figure. We did this, and this is how much we are giving you. Today, all you hear is that world market price is not good, and so we cannot increase the producer price. Brother, this government, what is going on? I remember one of the farmers told me that, look, if government is saying that because he is doing free SHS, he is taking our money to go and do free SHS. Why? Are we the only people in this country? Why? We were getting fertilizer free of charge. If I could get 100 bags of fertilizers within a year, 100 bag, one bag of fertilizer now is somewhere 80 Ghana cedis. So it means that you are getting 8,000 Ghana cedis per year. And government is taking that money from you, and he's saying he's giving free SHS. Why? Which secondary school in Ghana costs 8,000 Ghana cedis a year? You know, so I mean, why is government treating cocoa farmers this way? Meanwhile, when they were in government, they said we were rather cheating farmers. So far, upon the press conference, reactions upon reactions, we are doing politics. They cannot react to any of these specific issues we have raised. Specific issues. If they have answers, they should bring them and let us all discuss the answers. You understand? So it's a very delicate issue that we should not leave this fight to MPs alone, to politicians alone, to the cocoa farmers alone, because the cocoa has done so much for this country. Now I hear they are even distributing some fertilizers that are even expired. During those days, when your cocoa is getting very old, government will bring in people to come and cut the cocoa down, give you free seedlings to plant, and sometimes give you some kind of bursary. All these things happened under John Mahama administration. What is happening now? So, my brother, it's a very sensitive matter. Very sensitive matter. If you don't take care, we will live to regret.
Maybe I can chip in one small question before. Because one of the things they have said is the fact that you are agitating farmers. And that is an indication that they feel that, but for the fact that you raised those issues, the farmers may not have averted their minds to those issues. And also you talk about our interest in the cocoa issues, those of us who are not from the cocoa growing areas. Is it not also a demonstration of the fact that perhaps we do not understand and we do not pay attention to that area? That's why these things happened on our blind side.
Well, it is because we have not shown the interest. If you show the interest, you will understand. It is not rocket science. Okay? If you show the interest, why? I am from the cocoa growing area, but I talk about petroleum issues. It is because I am interested. So if you begin to show interest, you will understand. They are talking about agitation. And these are some of the things I describe as tangentials. Why? We are members of parliament, for Christ's sake. We are the mouthpiece of these people. So they were not expecting us to raise these issues. Who should come and raise it? Who should come and raise it? And so if the issues are cogent and they understand it and they are agitated, yes, they should be agitated. They should be agitated. If you are cheating the person and the person has realized that you are cheating him or her, he should not be agitated. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We want Ghana government to come and react to these specific issues. And we want a debate on it. We are on recess. When we come, we are going to raise this issue and we will debate it. Why? Why? So we should all show interest. And whether or not we are inciting or agitating, they are showing agitations, or those issues are just tangentials. We need answers. When is Ghana government going to use the realistic exchange rate? You know, so these are the issues. We are not prepared to engage in any other. They can decide to insult us. That's their stock in trade. When you raise issues and they have no answers to, they will resort to insult, maligning, casting a slur on your integrity, trivializing it, ridiculing you, and all that. I don't care about it. I don't care about these issues. They should come and react to these issues we have raised. That's what we are interested in. That's all.
Okay. Honorable Kando, he will be leaving us pretty soon. We've been joined in the studio also by Honorable Dr. Eduardo Maniboma, former Minister of Communications. We'll be coming to him shortly, but because Honorable Akando is leaving us, we'll ask him to maybe comment on our second topic that has to do with ESE's report and the fact that perhaps the depreciation of the CD may worsen. And also the Finance Minister is indicating that we may have to tighten our belt because we are not out of the doldrums yet. Your quick thoughts?
I remember very, very, very well that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama said, posterity will judge all of us. And that's exactly where we find ourselves today. I am not surprised to hear this. When the MPP was coming to power, they promised that they were going to change this economy from taxation to what? Production. That's what they promised us. That they were going to change this economy from taxation to production. What has happened? If indeed they had fulfilled their promises, we wouldn't have been where we are now. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama went around the northern part of the country, and yesterday I saw him speak. He's asking them to show him where the factories are. These are the things that affect the economy. The agri sector, what His Excellency left behind. He realized that, look, the youth are not showing interest in agri because of the hard labor we put in, because it is not mechanized. Let me engage the Brazilian government to bring more facilities in so that it will, make agri attractive in this country and then make our currency stable. We have about three items that will import so much into this country and that affect the strength of the city. We have rice, we have the poultry products, we have sugar, and we have oil. What are their policies on these issues? At least I can remember the 1 million broiler project. At least I can remember that. What are their policies on those? At least even if we cannot export, we can attempt to raise what we can eat in this country. What has happened to it? Let's go to the rice industry. When NDC was in government, go to a sanctuary and its environment. They prepared, it's not propaganda, it's not this planting for food thing they are talking about. They prepared large tract of land, well irrigated. And this is what is giving jobs to people in the sanctuary, Akuse and its environments. Go to Avelave, go to those areas, Abahime. Go and see. That is a proper planting for food and jobs. Proper. And so at the end of the day, even if we cannot export, at least we can rely on what we produce here. Again, sugar. What did His Excellency John Dramani Mahama do? Of course, because he was dreaming. And at the end of the day, after dreaming, he will implement those dreams. He set up a factory. When the MPP came, they said they cannot find the sugar canes. Do you have to take 10 years to plant sugar cane? The most difficult aspect is to establish the factory. If the factory is there, as a visionary leader, it doesn't take even a year to plant sugar cane, to feed the factory. What have they done about it? So all these things, if you are only doing propaganda, as His Excellency the Vice President said, if you do propaganda with your fundamentals, your exchange rate will expose you. Now the exchange rate is exposing them. Where is he? He should come. We will organize the lectures for him. He's running away. We will organize. Now I'm prepared to vote the bill. You should come and teach. You understand? So these are, it's not just making noise. Oh. You put measures in place. So sometimes you can, when His Excellency John Dramani Mahama was there, I mean, people were lamenting. He kept quiet, trying to walk the talk. So at the end of the day, the things will show for itself. So I was surprised. Come to my area. You go to in between Sefia Saiso and Benchema, a very large tract of land, well irrigated for rice production. You go to in between Tanoso and then the Tano Bridge and Tanoso, a tract of land there, well irrigated for rice plantation. These are the things. Now, as I speak to you now, you go to the ground, there's nothing like planting for food, and they are making noise in cities. If you don't get these things right, irrespective of the magic you perform with the figures, it will continue to expose you. These are the fundamentals. Production. I mean, His Excellency reviving shoe factories in this country, reviving tomato factories in this country, and all that. Because he was not making noise about it. Now people come, and vehicles that we bought before with less power, they've written and boss on those vehicles, planting for food and jobs. Why wouldn't the city continue to depreciate when you are making such noise? When you are taking money from the public purse and establishing, an artificial job, the job that cannot rake in money, is it NAPCO, whatever, what have you quantified? Have you sat down to quantify how much that job you are creating will bring, at least to pay for itself? So at the end of the day, you come to Parliament, come and beg us, give you money, you go and give it to those people. You give you money. Sometimes 4 months, 5 months, their salaries will be in arrears. You continue to do that. Is it a sustainable job? The sustainable job that will keep the city on a track is building more cheap compounds, is building more hospitals, so that the nurses and the doctors will get sustainable jobs to do. You understand? So this is how we must think into the future. This is how. So if you cannot dream, if you sleep and you just sleep and sleep, and even if you are traveling and you are in the vehicle, you just sleep. You are at an occasion and you are just sleeping. You are not dreaming. You have a problem managing this country. You must think about what will happen tomorrow and tomorrow next. So for me, I am not surprised hearing this at all. But how those in government will take it is the issue. Because at the end of the day, my brother, I am a member of Parliament and I'm in constant touch with my people. Take everything, and I'm not exaggerating, the hardship is real. You go to our areas, the hardship, you can see the hardship with your naked eyes. Hardship, real hardship. People are complaining. Let them sit here and they take care of themselves and laugh. At the end of the day, they will go and meet the people down there, 2020. So for me, we are only praying that at the end of the day, they will listen to us and do the needful. That's all.
Honorable Meta Akando is Member of Parliament for Joaboso. Now, he has joined us. He is en route. He is going somewhere, but he decided to join us for the very first topic and comments on the other one. So thank you very much for joining us this morning.
It's a privilege to be on this great platform.
Well, so he will be departing us, but we have been joined in the studio by Dr. Edward Omani-Boama, who is former Minister of Communications. We've also been joined by Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jr., Managing Editor of the Inside newspaper. We'll be joined by Lawyer Sam Piale, who is President of NDC Professionals Forum. Is also a former High Commissioner to India. Professor Nino Idowona is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana. They will all be joining us for the discussion of the topics we have identified for ourselves this morning. If you just join us, we are on Alhaji and Alhaji, the mother of all talk shows, probably brought to you by Apollonia City, TT Brothers, Ines Fly, Kulun Ghana Limited, and of course, Franco Trading Enterprise. My name is Senna But a couple of the messages, comments you have been making on PABMC GH, let's share them with you. And well, John Brighton, Ransford Itsun. Unfortunately, I can't read your comments. And Honorable Akando, you said, well done. We no go sit down, make the cheaters every day. Michael Lawe, Kidom Kalechi Kwesi Dachomo says, good morning, Senator Nombo and your panelists. The Honorable Minta Akando should hammer on the utilization of the Cocoa Stabilization Fund the SWAL NDC government left behind, the distribution of free cocoa fertilizers, intention of SWAL government construction of cocoa roads. And J. Humble Eagle says that I'm not surprised because when a corrupt leader wins power based on lies, be rest assured that the livelihood of the people in the country will expose you. And Issa Jamoni says he's watching us live from Algeria, city of Batnan. And Augustine M. Kobner says, this incompetent, useless government believes that the ordinary cocoa farmer doesn't deserve an increment in the producer price, yet finds it worthy and deserving to use cocoa board monies to renovate the residence of another incompetent minister, the agriculture minister. I don't know why this government thinks that it deserves to enjoy, but those who make it possible for them to live a life of enjoyment don't deserve anything. Our cocoa farmers should not worry much. They should use their terms come 2020. And Alex Sucre says, if you lie your way to power, what do you expect? God willing, 2020 GM would come back. And a couple more of you. Thank you very much for sharing those messages with us. So if you're watching us on Facebook, we're on PABMCGH. You can also share your comments on the issues we are discussing. Alternatively, you can do that to 0233995905. So let's move to Dr. Edward Manibo, former Minister of Communications, on the issue of the decision by government to maintain the producer price of cocoa at 475 for the second consecutive season. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Senator. Very good morning to my co-panelists and also to our cherished listeners and viewers on Facebook as well. I think that these are not exciting times for cocoa farmers. We are also not having exciting times for Ghanaians as a whole. And it is sad to arrive at this conclusion. Sad as it is, this conclusion is also backed by robust evidence. And it demonstrates the fact that elections have consequences. And as a nation, we are reaping the negative consequences of the 2016 elections. I believe Ghanaians were hopeful that this government was going to do far better than what the President Mahama administration did in terms of delivery in several aspects of our national life. But focusing on the cocoa sector, it is very clear that the kind of deterioration that we are seeing in the cocoa sector is not what cocoa farmers and Ghanaians we were hoping for. And this kind of deterioration is widespread. It's affecting several sectors of our national life. But for the purpose of this discussion and the restriction of time and everything, I'll try as much as possible to restrict it to the cocoa sector as your topic stipulates. I must commend Radio Gold and also the minority for putting this issue on the front burner, because often you may have issues relating to farmers, relating to cocoa farmers being drowned being submerged because they may not have the wherewithal to be able to set the agenda for their plight to be heard, let alone someone appreciating the extent of the deterioration that we are seeing. A clear linkage also exists between the cocoa pricing that we are looking at and your second topic, that is the ISE prediction. And one should not be surprised. And I'm not sure the government itself is surprised. They will only be surprised if they were not confident about the manifesto that they put out in the year 2016 towards the elections. Why do I say so? In their own manifesto of 2016, they cited ISE. So today, it will be strange they begin to challenge this view that ISE. And what did they cite ISE on? They said ISE basically about the fact that DUMSO is causing certain losses to the state for every month. And so it is this very ISE that they cited in 2016 in their manifesto that is speaking eloquently to their bad management of the exchange rate, which they are mischievously applying to cheat farmers. But this should not stand. And I submit here that it should not be allowed to just be a matter of pressures must be exerted for government to provide farmers with their fair share of the national cake. And you see, many a times you hear government propagandists saying that, oh, even though they are capitalists in their orientation, they are more sensitive when it comes to social policies and interventions and sensitive. And you are not even being sensitive if we begin to compare how much money is going to the presidency and how you are cheating cocoa farmers. We were in this country where in the 2007 government allocated over 1 billion Ghana cedis to the office of the president alone. This is more than 1 trillion old Ghana cedis. And this amount, if you total several ministries put together, Ministry of Trade and Industry, Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Communications, and several other ministries, their capital expenditure could not even match up to this. And guess what? Of this amount, a huge chunk of it was also supposed to go into goods and services. At the office of the president. What do I mean by this distinction? In one breath, we see the need to increase allocation to the office of the president. In another breath, we do not see or appreciate the need to increase the producer price of cocoa for our cocoa farmers. This is not equity. This is not equitable. And it demonstrates the fact that this government does not believe in equity. And when they say that, oh, we are providing free SHS, because we love the people who cannot pay and all. At the core of their belief, the deep core is the fact that they believe in inequality. And this proves it. That allocation to the presidency keeps on increasing, yet when it comes to producer price for cocoa farmers, they will not increase it. You look at 2018 and the same hoping amount also went there as compared to what existed under President Mahama and the NDC. Cocoa farmers toil. In the rains, they go through it. under scorching sun, they go through it. Snake bites. They encounter several difficulties to give us the produce. The least we can do as a people is to reciprocate their toils with their fair share of what we derive from the sale of cocoa on the world market. My brother, how do we determine the pricing of cocoa? Basically, around the table, the governor of the Bank of Ghana provides the exchange rate. Cocoa board is present. They also know the trend in terms of the world market price. The buyers also of cocoa are also present. Transporters are also involved, because when it is bought, it must also be transported. Based on all these inputs, if they are accurate, we should not be haggling over the issues that we are haggling over. To the cocoa farmer out there, to the cocoa farmer in the western region, to the cocoa farmer in the eastern region, to the cocoa farmer in the central region, to the cocoa farmer in the Volta region, to the cocoa farmer in the Brong Ahafo region, to the cocoa farmer in the Ashanti region. If the NDC had been in office, the least you would have been receiving per bag of cocoa would have been 510 Ghana cedis, 75 pesos, and not the 475 Ghana cedis that this government is offering. That is why I said elections have consequences. If the NDC had been in office, the least, and I say the least because we would have also paid premium to compensate them for their hard work in ensuring better processing, natural processing, which gives our cocoa the premium that it deserves. That is the difference between the MPP and the NDC. And this difference has been caused by elections. The least the farmer would have gotten, as we speak now, would have been 510 Ghana cedis, 75 pesos, and not 475 Ghana cedis per bag. But you see, why will the Bank of Ghana, and for that matter, government, be so disingenuous and deceptive? You are destroying banks. You won't listen. You are destroying people's investments. You won't listen. You are causing job losses. You won't listen. You are sending the same intolerance, insensitivity, and book-long approach to the cocoa sector. How on earth will any man capable of thought use 4.54 Ghana cedi to $1 as the exchange rate parity? How on earth? I do not mean even on the open market. No. But how on earth will any man capable of thought, any man born of a woman, use 4.5 Ghana cedi to $1 as the parity, when their own figures are pointing to 4.8 and above? What kind of deception is this? What kind of deception is this? But you see, this deception, this official deception, fits into a greater deception. And that greater deception also began taking root in 2016. And we cautioned again several times. One district, one factory. President Mahama is going around and he's asking, where are the factories? $1 million for every constituency for every year. And so, every constituency by now should have received $2 million. That would have been wonderful. We cautioned against it. One village, one dam. Notwithstanding the fact that NDC had done so well in the area of irrigation in areas like Via, Tamni, and several other places. And in fact, there again, the consequences of elections. But for the 2016 elections, major protests like the Kamba, Amate, Imprem, Ri, Dam, major irrigation projects would have also been ongoing at this stage and far in advance. This is the environment of deception that is allowing the Bank of Ghana to use 4.54 Ghana cedis to $1 instead of at least 4.8. And this deception can also be found in their own promise of having a youth development and creative arts fund, industrial development fund, and maybe what they didn't promise was invisible forces fund. They promised all kinds of funds. Zongo Development Fund, which they set up, but the question is how much has also gone out of it. So this grand scheme, blessed by officialdom, is what Bank of Ghana is taking a cue from and using 4.54 Ghana cedi to $1 to squeeze cocoa farmers. My brother, as we discuss the plight of cocoa farmers, and I do not need to repeat the wonderful submissions of Honorable Akando, but I seek to draw your attention to the plight of the cocoa farmer once. As we speak to the shortfall, the shortchanging of our cocoa farmers, let's also examine the repercussions of the deprivation that cocoa growing areas are experiencing as we speak now. Just because of one indiscretion of this government, they abandoned the cocoa road projects for a very long time. And what has happened? There has been deterioration of those roads that had been commenced by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, with the CEO being Dr. Opuni and his able lieutenants. As a result of this, can you imagine how even moving the products out of the cocoa growing areas, how difficult that will be? And even cocoa farmers also do quite some amount of mixed cropping. And so, whereas you are cheating them with their prices of cocoa, at least some plantain or some cocoyam that they would have been selling will also be getting rotten on the farms because of these poor access roads. Because you have failed, you have refused to fix those roads. You have refused to continue with those roads. Again, just imagine the cocoa farmer who develops an emergency and must travel on this same road to the nearby hospital. This same road that you have refused to fix just because of unnecessary witch hunting. At least you continue with your witch hunting, but care about the people. Continue with the projects. Fix the roads. What has happened as we speak now? Deterioration of the work that had been done. And so contractors, if they contracted loans, interests are piling up, and those interests will definitely affect banks, and those banks are under the axe or the bulldozer of the Bank of Ghana. Your own action of stopping construction of the roads fixes the contractors who had contracted loans, and because they will not be servicing the loans, you begin to look at the books of the banks and you say that non-performing loans, and as a result of that, we ask you, Bank of Ghana, your actions are not only at the end, but are also contributing to the deterioration that we are seeing in the economy. Again, just consider the cocoa farmer in terms of access to extension officers. The extension officers moving from the districts or from the regional offices would have to travel to the cocoa growing areas. In areas like the western region, where we have very heavy rainfalls, torrential rainfalls, when the roads get very bad, how do you expect these extension officers to be able to reach them? But as we begin to see this government a shift from the supervision of the Ministry of Finance of the cocoa sector to the unholy alliance between the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Agric, both supervising the cocoa sector, one cannot end this discussion but to invite what we are also beginning to see in the cocoa sector and in the agric sector under this administration. Under the NDC, cocoa farmers were having fertilizer for free. For free. This government is selling a bag of fertilizer at a minimum of 80 Ghana cedis to the cocoa farmer. So, take the fact that they intend to sell a bag at 475 Ghana cedis to the cocoa farmer, whereas the NDC would have sold it at least 510 Ghana cedis, 75 pesos. Subtract 80 Ghana cedis per bag from it. That is, if 80 Ghana cedis is used to buy fertilizer, it drops it to 395 Ghana cedis. I'm not suggesting that each bag of cocoa will require one bag of fertilizer, but if the farmer decides that for this bag I'm going to purchase fertilizer out of it, it drops it even further from the 475 all the way to the 300 Ghana cedi realm. This is reducing the quality of life of our cocoa farmers, their children, their wives and their husbands and their dependents. Again, you look at the cocoa sector and the agric sector as a whole, and these same cocoa farmers who also engage in mixed cropping just to supplement benefits in cocoa, when they were infected with army worms, including several other farmers, the 110 army of ministers could not fight these army worms. The army worms defeated the 110 ministers of President Akufo-Addo. But we saw waste, where over 8 million Ghana cedis was spent on public education. This is their record when it comes to the agric sector. This is their record when it comes to the cocoa sector. But the record is even terrible if you begin to look at the fisheries sector. Just premix alone, and I'll end it. In 2017, over 200 instances of stealing of premix. And is it any wonder that we saw a 17% decline in the growth of the fisheries sector in 2017. And when you treat agriculture this way, why will we not begin to see a 30% increase in the price of tomato? And it's even worse on the market. This is from Isoko. A 30% increase in the price of Isoko, of tomato, according to the Isoko index. So related to rice, related to pepper, related to ginger, related to makoshirawa, related to monko, related to several other foodstuffs. If you use just the increase in the price of tomato, 30% increase, you will appreciate the mess in which we have landed ourselves as a people. Last but not least, as you squeeze our cocoa farmers and you put a lid, or you squeeze the opportunity for them to vent, begin to appreciate that it's just like squeezing a balloon, an inflated balloon, seeded in squeezing the entry and the exit point. But you are having the squeeze balloon effect. The effect of the hardship is being felt at the distal end. And that is what they are experiencing. But as you do that, why should Cocoa Board copy the office of the president in terms of the huge sums of money that are being allocated and being spent at the office of the president, and not same being done for cocoa farmers? If you look at the administrative cost of Cocoa Board, it's terrible. And as the minority captured it, Cocoa Board headquarters, if you look at between 2016 2017, the difference is a quantum jump of 63.9%. Cocoa Marketing Company, a quantum jump of 68.2%. Quality Control Department, a quantum jump of 62.6%. Crop Financing, a quantum jump of 318%. Sadly, producer price of cocoa, 0%. The one that goes to the farmer, 0%. The one that goes to administration and the operations and all, 68%, 63%, 62%, 318%. The one that goes to the farmer, 0%. This is why I say elections have consequences. But we shouldn't leave it at that. Because the cocoa farmers deserve better. We must continue to drum home the fact that cocoa farmers deserve better, and that government must listen to the cocoa farmers. And all forms of legitimate means must be adopted and deployed to ensure that the cocoa farmers are given their fair share. And their fair share is nothing less than 510 Ghana cedis. And this is even minus premium.
Well, thank you very much, Doc. Before we move on to Ambassador Sam Piale, a couple of your messages that you're sharing with us on PABM CGH on Facebook. Johnson Kunalis Clifford Yaovije says, welcome back to the media once again, Doc. Action now, action then. Kofi Edue Jemfi says, excellent. Ricklin Ellie says he's watching from media. Thomas Awunyo Morte, your message is noted. Kingdom Kaleshi Kwesi Dachomo says, good to see Dr. Edward Manibwama on the Mother of All Talk Show, Alhaji and Alhaji. We have to also emphasize on how cocoa farmers' purchasing power parity due to the depreciation of our currency. And Sylvester Donne Kwame also is welcoming back Dr. Omani Buama, and Benjamin Kofi says, in fact, IEA have to have a debate for the NDC and MPP. Vice President said NDC don't read. With Honorable Akando, will face them booth to booth. And those are just some of the messages I am seeing on Facebook. Don't forget, you can also share your messages through WhatsApp 0233995905. Before I take the comments of Ambassador Sampiale, the management of Franco Trading wishing to inform the general public that the ongoing promotion on some WhatsApp platforms in relation to phone top-up for an iPhone is a scam. Thus, we advise that the general public should desist from giving monies to any unauthorized persons, either by mobile money or cash, in act of getting a brand new iPhone. Please report such incidents to the nearest police station or call 0302-225-651 or 0246-422-338 or 0247-033-429 for further information. That's issued by management of Franco Trading. Ambassador.
Well, good morning to our cherished listeners and viewers. I can't get this of PAP television. Can I add my voice in welcoming you to the battlefield? As I was coming in here, I listened to your submission, and I very much associate myself with the facts that you intelligently elucidated. The issues are very, very simple. Last week, the minority in Parliament, led by their ranking member for agriculture, held a press conference at Farmgate, called the Farmgate, where the action actually takes place. And the purpose of the press conference was to explain to the farmers, the cocoa farmers, not the CMB workers in Ghana House, not the CMB directors or ministers of agric, but the farmers who toil, you understand, walk through the rains, beaten by snakes and others to produce the cocoa. And their feeling was that government was shortchanging them for maintaining the producer price of cocoa. And in fact, historically, this is about the first time, or one of not many times, when cocoa prices have been stagnant. Don't forget that at the beginning of every year, we syndicate loans for the purchase of cocoa, and at a certain fixed interest rate. So, for you in your financial planning, you have made an outflow of how much you are going to spend in purchasing cocoa. So the NDC, in spite of the same conditionalities that is facing this government, MPP cannot tell us that this is the first time cocoa prices have gone down. And in fact, I heard my friend, the CEO, saying that cocoa prices have fallen by 40% in one of his addresses. Then significantly, when pinned to the wall, the manager in his office had considered that, in fact, cocoa prices have gone up marginally by 6%. So we don't know who is who. But I think they are believing that these days, people still don't read. Or people don't know or do not have avenue for checking these facts. Today, I want all listeners to be interactive. All listeners to this program, be interactive. Because if you Google on cocoa prices, you will see from 1809 to date, every day of the month, cocoa prices are traded on daily basis. You will see each price for any period. And in fact, by the London Cocoa Stock Exchange, the price has average falling by 0.72%. So, whilst getting confused about which figures this government is using as to whether cocoa prices have gone down or has come down, we can check from the internet and get the actual prices. So that is and a free advice to the MPP, that when they come spewing figures these days, there are men capable of going through the figures and understanding the issues. The NDC is simply saying that the prices or the percentage rise or fall is not correct, and that all things being equal, if the government was mindful of the importance of cocoa industry in this country, they will even borrow money to keep the prices of the cocoa, so that the farmers who over the years, you remember when we were debating this whether Kwame Nkrumah built JB Dankwa built Legon or not, Kwesi Pratt made a point that the farmers have to agree to contribute their monies to build the university, and that's why we have the Ikwafu Hall. And on record, after our gold and timber and the rest, we have mortgaged them. So we don't. When people say we have raw materials, I don't know what they are talking about. We have mortgaged them. Cocoa has been the strongest backbone of this economy, and therefore, if there's anything that government should show priority, it should be the cocoa sector, because minus cocoa, Ghana's economy will just crumble. Minus cocoa. Never mind, you have oil and other things, but cocoa still remains the strongest backbone of our economy. So that if a government that is mindful of maintaining the stability of the economy, maintaining the stability of your currency, that is the first pointer, that is the first area you should look at. But regrettably, this is a sector this government is so shamelessly ignoring, to the extent that the cocoa roads, as Dr. Amane Boama said, if there's nothing at all, we should be honoring our cocoa farmers by good roads. Apart from the spoilages that they are going to see, they also have children that go to school. Not so? Yeah. And if you have gone to a cocoa growing area and see the houses these people are living in, the schools their children are going in and attended, and come to CMB and see the fleet of 4-wheel drives, the fleet of whatever, go and see their accommodation of the staff of CMB, then you know that there's some insanity in our system. So the NDC said no. By the formula that we have used all this time, the prices of cocoa should not have been maintained for 2 consecutive times, periods. Then people say no. The NDC also went on and said that look, cocoa is a dollar index product. We don't sell cocoa in cedis, we sell cocoa in dollars. And therefore, if you are fixing your prices or doing any calculation, you should be mindful of the exchange rate. Why did government, for the first time, use a wrong exchange rate and something that is not equivalent to what the Bank of Ghana was doing? Because if you use the Bank of Ghana rate, the likelihood is that the FOB price will be increased and the farmers will get more. So to help the farmers, you use a smaller interest rate, exchange rate, and the farmers that was. That's your love for the farmers. That's the love of this government for the farmers. The farmers whose sweat and toil have educated all of us. That's how we are treating them. Look, when NDC was in power, we thought and believed that giving fertilizer to farmers out of their own contribution, but then the product, the fertilizer should be available, should be given to them free. And to check it, we labeled the fertilizers free. By a certain machination, these fertilizers were vanishing from wherever we were sending them. And today they say, oh, they were stealing the fertilizer, they were smuggling the fertilizer all the way up to Cameroon. And that is for the reason, smuggling fertilizer is a reason why now a product which is supposed to go to the farmers free, because it's coming from their own contribution, now you are selling the fertilizers to them. I am asking you, Minister for Agri, since you started selling the fertilizer, have the smuggling stopped? Even the cocoa product, the cocoa itself is being smuggled based on what Ivory Coast is paying. It's being smuggled. So the fact that you cannot check smuggling, does it mean that something which belongs to me should be sold to me again? This one, the minority hasn't got the right to talk about it. When one of the people was asked, because of the quality of the product, cocoa that we produce in this country, the world pays us $350 per ton, $350 per ton for the quality of the grain. I believe that the Minister of Agric, the MPP apparatchiks, the staff of CMB are not the ones that, give us the quality of the cocoa so that we earn the premium. It's the cocoa farmers who have mastered the craft of drying the cocoa, harvesting at the right time, and also planting and cultivating the cocoa at the right time. That gives us the quality. So if there's a premium, who should earn the premium? Is it the CMB workers? Or is it the minister who wants accommodation fixed for him? So now you beat them and you stop them from crying. You go and collect your money. Difference, take it. Premium, you take it. Fix my roads, no. Fix my schools, no. The same when they come from the Sehui areas to Takwa and Kumasi, they come and buy at the same one cutlass. Do you know how much it's costing? One cutlass. Cocoa farmer. Whereas in Liman's time, under President Liman, under President Rawlings, even cutlasses were being supplied to the farmers. Now you have removed their subsidy, you have capped their whatever prices, and worst of all, selling their fertilizers also to them. When this thing, the NDC made a press conference and said that there is a certain bad relationship between administrative costs of the CMB and what has been given to the farmers. You understand? And the Buama has given us the figures. Quickly, the answer for administrative costs was that, we have expanded production, and therefore we are buying more, we are renting more silos. We are doing whatever they call it, human fertilization or whatever it is. But these are not administrative costs. If you are hiring rooms for fertilizers, you are hiring room to stock cocoa. These are not administrative expenses. They are operational expenses. So why is the MPP government confusing everybody by not answering to the reasons why the administrative cost of the CMB has moved to 63%? Is hiring silos part of administrative costs? Planting, replanting, these are part of administrative costs. As if they think that all of us still don't read. And that is what they are talking about. But you see, there is this feeling that I'm beginning to have. And anytime I think about this, I become more enchromized. Because way back 1964 to 64 that way, Kwame Nkrumah had seen the solution way back 64. Senna, and those of us who live in Tama, as I'm speaking to you, just turn your eyes and look towards the Tama Harbor. You will see some tall concrete buildings there. Tall concrete buildings. Those of you living in Takoradi, cross the Apollo 11 traffic light, walk towards the Hwin River and turn to your left. You will see the same structures there. Those of you in Accra, if you are standing at the circle now, turn left and look towards the industrial area. Behind the former Food Distribution Corporation, there are some tall structures standing there. Do you know what they were for? These were silos the Osagifo constructed at a cost of £8.5 million, so that in times like this, we would have stored our cocoa beans, because the whole world, it is Ghana and Ivory Coast, Nigeria, Ecuador, and the Cameroon that are the leading producers of cocoa. But Ghana and Ivory Coast have been racing to be the highest producer of cocoa. So if we had accepted to store our cocoa beans and release them at a times like this, our cocoa prices will not be fluctuating like that. Do you know what they said? Those of you, I said today, I want us to be interactive so that when you are sending text messages, the areas I've asked you to look at, you send the text messages. Just Google the story behind the silos in Ghana, and you would see the criticisms. The same thing they are doing to John Mohammed's development. They did worse against Kwame Nkrumah. So if today cocoa prices are not still stable, it is not because of anything. It's not because of the world prices. It's because of those who planned, the ancestors of these people who planned to remove Kwame Nkrumah, to stop the silos, which would have stored our grains, which would have sold food products. That has caused the problem. Sana, you know Tama a little bit. You see the whole enclave for food distribution, food processing, Tama food processing. Is it Tama? Where Hanatata used to work? Gafco. From that area all the way to the silos was an industrial enclave connected by conveyor belts. You understand? So when the ship with wheat comes to bet at the port, they will be taken to the flour mills. We're producing our own flour. We're producing our own oil. And also storing those things. What has happened to that? So the issue is not about NDC press conferences or MPP rebuttals. The issue is about how to reverse to this intelligence and common sense Kwame Nkrumah applied in managing this economy. They should not feel ashamed to go back to what is the real answer to the problem. Another way Kwame Nkrumah saw, apart from the silos, and I've told you, please Google the story behind the silos, and today you get a real story about how some people have behaved in this country, has brought this country to the standstill, and they are still complaining. You know also that. Okay. You know also that if you are from Sekendi, I think you know that already, from the hospital, and you reach Effields, on your right side, there was a cocoa processing company there. Cocoa, and it's now Weedy, cocoa processing company. And in Tema also, there was a cocoa processing company. Two huge factories that were built. And you know why? Kwame Nkrumah believed that even if we are not going to consume the chocolate, we could process the chocolate. Because the statistics show that if you process cocoa, 1 ton of cocoa, the employment is going to generate in this country. The revenue is going to generate. You cannot imagine it. We listen to the World Bank. We listen to the Europeans and Americans and said that these are wasteful projects. At the time, Europe were also building silos. America was building silos to store the harvest of their farmers. They were criticizing us that we should stop. We followed them. Stopped our silos. And then all they did was, after that, they took our plants away. That's another way to solve the problem. It's not by NDC press conferences or NDC MPP rebuttals. The solution is to fix the cocoa roads. Are you following what I'm saying? That's the solution. It's not about the press conferences we are holding and the rebuttals and the insults. Go back to the wisdom of Kwame Nkrumah, and this country will backtrack and fast track. Another solution is to enter into some alliances with the cocoa producing countries. Why is it that there's OPEC? There's various markets for commodities, but cocoa alone. And Senna, do you know where cocoa prices are fixed? New York. America hasn't got 1 tree of cocoa, but the market for fixing prices are in New York. This is the problem we are facing. So they can decide that, oh, we don't have enough money. gold prices are going down. So let us squeeze cocoa. And that's what means suffering. And this is not going to stop anytime soon, as long as we are not going to be sensible to process our cocoa. As long as government will not think that instead of shouting about one factory, one district, one factory of nothing, they should think about revamping such cocoa processing factories so that we can start processing our cocoa. I told you the story one day of India. Somebody I summoned to my office. He was selling chocolate. The name of the chocolate was Ghana. And I said, how come you are selling this cocoa? And see, the content of cocoa in it, very, very small. And the rest was all synthetic cocoa. Somebody in India producing chocolate and selling on the world market, calling it Ghana. For how long are we going to stay where we are and not do what is right? For how long? For how long? Let us look at the economic principles of hedging and futures trading. If you know that you are trading in commodities, the prices of which are seasonal or depends on certain other factors, you do forward futures. You sell your cocoa ahead and lock the price. Is that what CMB is doing? Is that what CMB is doing? I want to end my submission in saying that if Nana Akufo-Addo and his agric minister do not do something about these cocoa farmers, and they also become wise, like some of us are wise in Accra, and decide that instead of cocoa, we are going to cut our cocoa farms and plant cassava, we will all see our smoothness economic level in this country. We all shall see. Why fix Chebi roads? Why fix Kumasi roads? Why fix Accra roads? And refuse to fix the cocoa roads at Sewi Asawenuso? Why are you doing that? Never kill the hen that lays the golden egg. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. And this one from Cocoa Mauli Nanegbe says that Asena, according to the 2013 best cocoa farmer, cocoa scholarship which was introduced by Dr. Nkrumah has been scrapped by the NPP because of free senior high school. It says aside the scrapping, government is still deducting the scholarship fees from their earnings and is demanding a stoppage and refund of previous deductions. Also, at a time local banks are collapsing, what does Mr. President mean when he, at the inauguration of Standard Chartered Bank headquarters, referred to the bank as the President's Bank? What is he telling us? And that's from Kokuli Moli Nanegbe. Let me get a few of the messages from our Facebook platform, PABMCGH. You can watch us live on Facebook. And let me just share with you. Alhassan Salifu says, for how long? You say current crop of leaders have really hurt. For how long? You say current crop of leaders have really hurt the youth. That is what he is saying. And Kingdom Kalashi Kwesida Chumo says, His Excellency Ambassador Sampiali, I know of the cocoa storage silo at Tema, Accra, and there's one also located at Ho. Benjamin Kofi said, Papa J said if MPP are the same yesterday, today, and forever, just that they have been changing their names, their bad motive is still running. Solomon Segbanu says, you people are too much. God bless you. And that's from Solomon. And this one, Johnson Kunalis Clifford Diovije says, the doctor, the agronomist, you have said it all. The reality has hit us on the face, has hit the MPP on the face. The farmers have been short-changed. And Nicholas Laguda says, very nostalgic listening to Dr. Omani Buama. Brilliant communication skills with facts and figures. We want to hear more of you, please. God bless you. And Tahiru Delali says, host, please tell your panelists they have hit the nail right on the head. And this one says, good morning. Farmers are sorry to have voted for these people. And this one, he says, is Stephen from Glefe. Now, let's listen to Professor Nino Idowona. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning. morning. Thank you very much. Midweek to now, I just find it interesting that cocoa farmers' plight has become the topical issue. Indeed, rightly so, because of the pivotal role cocoa plays or has continued to play since the 19th century, when the Kwashi introduced cocoa to this country, and farmers have been cultivating the crop ever since. One will always say that, but for the establishment or the creation of the Cocoa Marketing Board, now Cocoa Board in 48, we wouldn't have a cocoa industry. Because our western neighbor, Ivory Coast, they deal in plantations. And indeed, if you travel across the country, cocoa farming is just what we would call small scale farming systems. And so most cocoa farmers will have their plantain. Dr. Manibwama spoke about the mixed cropping. Have other crops that they are cultivating, but maybe an acre, half an acre. Those cultivating more than 10 acres, you can't count them. But within the cocoa growing areas, it is something every farmer tries his hands on, because there is a guaranteed price. And even if the cocoa farmer has an acre and he can harvest the beans and process the beans, there is a nearby produce buying agency spot. So maybe some few distance, he walks and then just locks in his 10 bucks or 15 bucks and collects his money. We've introduced various forms of payment, etc. So it is our marketing system that has maintained the cocoa industry. And no other crop has enjoyed this benefit. And you can also go back historically to appreciate the central role of the cocoa industry, because it's been under the presidency. General Champon put it under the Ministry of Cocoa Affairs. But ever since, it has never come under agriculture, although it's an agricultural commodity. So it's rightly so. But you realize that what we are witnessing against the backdrop of the political system or the governance system that we are in, with the challenges, I think when we get to the second topic, we will do more justice to the issues, is nothing strange. Sena,
Yes.
Sena, if you were to pick a vehicle from here to Nsamam with a 64 kilo bag Gary, you came to buy Gary cheaply at Choco, hypothetical, though real, and you were to transport it to Nsamam, how much will you think you will spend paying for? In fact, you will be the cherished passenger, because you are the people with cargo. In the days past when transportation was severe, when people had lined up to board their Arrow glass, that is a mummy truck, if you had a cargo or a bag, cholole, you will be a preferred passenger, because they will get money from you.
Money.
Yeah, even without a carrier, the bag will be pushed under the slab seats. So, but on a serious note, if you were to carry a Mazi bag, let's call it a Mazi bag of Gary from here to Nsawam, you came to buy, or you were here and somebody gave you a bag of Gary and you live in Nsawam, how much do you think you will spend in transporting the Gary to Nsawam today? From here, assuming there's a trotro behind Radio Gold that goes to Nsawam, you pay more than 5 cedis even for you as a passenger. And I can bet you will pay more than 20 cedis on that one Mazi bag of Gary under the carrier or behind the D207 vehicle. You understand? Now, today, let's say from a cocoa growing center at Odan, and you see the articulators grinding with 28 ties under them, carrying cocoa from Odan to Tamahabo. So an articulator carrying about 1,000 bags of cocoa, how much do you think the articulator owner will charge per bag carrying cocoa from Odan to Tema Harbour? Do you see the contest? Now, Dr. Manibu Ama and previous speakers spoke about the overhead cost. We have not been told, and those who have been in government should tell us, and we want to see the difference. We're talking about buildings and the board members and the overhead cost of running the cocoa industry. You understand? And so the constraints on the fixing the producer price or the price per Mazi bag of 64, we need to examine it in context. And I believe, apart from what they've said, other high costs. I just Google, do you know the freight charge of a ton of cocoa from Tema Harbour to UK is £39 per ton, 15 bags. From Tema Harbour to Asia, Europe, USA, $86. And I did some rough calculation, and I think it's very, very modest. I don't think it's the error margin will be high in terms of the plus, but not the minus. If an articulator were to cut 1,000 bags of cocoa from Odan to Tema, and I don't think the articulator will charge 20 cedis per bag. No, cost of transportation. But if the articulator were to charge 20 cedis per bag of 1,000 bags, which would just be a little under 150 or 600 bags, tons, like a kilogram, sorry. The total cost of transportation of that those 1,000 bags from that cocoa board will pay to the truck owner will be 20,000 Ghana cedis. And that is even too cheap to take your articulator to down to cut 1,000 bags of cocoa to Tema, 20,000 cedis, even fuel. But if that were so, it would translate to 4,000 Ghana, 4,000 US dollars at 5 cedis per dollar. And that would translate into 266 tons just to cut cocoa from Odan, which is less than 100 miles to Tema. You understand? But there's a rail line. Colonial people who colonized us and control everything that we had and took all our money and kept it in banks and said, for colonizing you and looking after you, we'll take a portion and leave a portion for you. Even found it fit to use the cheapest form of transportation. So our rail network, if you look at the rail network like a triangle, and at least went to areas where they could tap primary raw materials, manganese, insuta, gold, bauxite, things that they transported raw, timber. Today, there's no rail line to Tema Harbour. But if you go to Tema Harbour now, by the berth, the quay, where the ships berth and they are chained, there are rail lines. And so low loaders, big tonnage trucks, etc. are cut to everywhere by road. And you are going from Accra to Takoradi, and you see low loaders blocking traffic when there is a harbour at Takoradi. So in between, no rail line, no rail service, but there's rail. And we have continued for the past 30, 40 years. So the plight of the farmer is so pathetic, but we want to see, and as we go into the election, I have always raised the issue about the political establishment. And this presents a very good opportunity for the opposition parties going to contest the presidency, because the party in government, we've seen what they are doing and what they can. 2 years down the road, we see what they can do. The electorate will demand clear vision statement on what will be done. Look, have you ever taken a walk from Circle to, the rail line is being constructed? If you go through Dom, we call it Dom in Ghana, Domi, you see the rail line twisted like a lizard or snake. The colonial line, they've removed mud under it and just spreading stones. And the idea is that the railway line is going to Nsawam for passenger. And when you go over Nenungwa, the underpass, that is where the rail line ends, as a Prachuna or whatever they call it. No rail service to Tema Harbour. If we were to say that no cargo truck will go to Tema, but at least we could transport rehabilitate the rail line to Koforidua, which was a big rail terminus. And then we construct the road through Bonso to on the Kumasi Bonso Road to Koforidua, or Sohum to Koforidua, with a dual carriage now to Accra from Apedwa. And let it be even initially, that 50-mile journey, let that be the hub. And no articulator truck should go to Tema. Can any government do that? We want to test them. You know, gradually, the political establishment, I have said it, the electorate will slap them in the face, not by hand, but their own inaction. Because governance has become cheap. You can say anything, and then the day of voting is our civic responsibility. That becomes a compelling factor that at least once in 4 years, as a citizen, show that I'm a Ghanaian. So no matter what, I have to go and vote. There will be an independent candidate, or I can decide not to vote for any presidential candidate. Or no, be that as it may, you may have a choice that at least I would like this presidential candidate. That is why millions of Ghanaians will go and vote. But it appears we are taken for granted. You understand? I teach at Legon. My child is in secondary school. Dr. Manibuama, if your child went to Morning Star, St. Teresa's, Bishop Bowers, Jack and Jill, Association International, Engelbert, and you pay 2,000 cedis or more in a term, then secondary school 800, and I'm a government and I will go and take over that responsibility and feed your child for 3 months, and then you come and translate the burden on all of us, including those who have their children or who are even grandfathers, pensioners too. And you think a government can do this? Governance is cheap in Africa. You understand? So a lot has been said, but the plight of the cocoa farmer is real. And because of the central role of that industry, those who labor obviously must have a place of honor and a place of priority. And what he said is very true. All the noise and the razzmatazz is about international well-priced raw beans. 1 year weighted average, and how much does a cocoa farmer get? That is still what we're talking about. But if we produce the beans, and he said we have to do cocoa butter. That is, you transform it and add value. And if international cartel exists, we produce cocoa. Ghana, every coast, Nigeria, Togo, Benin, Brazil, some countries in Asia, we can form an international cartel. And Ghana's cocoa, by the way, is premium. And it is socio-cultural in the sense that the way we treat the beans, by still conventional fermentation. You understand? The farmer will still use his hand spread, pick out the moldy or what you call rotten beans. A small shed in every coast, maybe they use controlled temperatures. But the way it's the same cocoa, the same species, but the way we process it, it makes it premium. So like Brent crude, you add a little, and here you are. And quite apart from that, do we have a cocoa industry other than producing primary raw produce that we sell? So it's a big challenge, and it offers opportunity for parties going into the election to give us a clear vision statement on how they will transform the cocoa industry. And if you begin, how long will it take to lay railway line, or the colonial taught us rail line to Koforidua? When we were young, a train would just take 2 hours to move from Accra to Koforidua. Let a vehicle leave or a new plant station and think that whether in 2 hours it will even get to Nsawam, going through Pokwasi. You see, so we will get to the next topic, and I will tell you the tragic challenge that we have, because these are fellow Ghanaians who are in various positions of responsibility, have studied. Our own colleagues who were in the same house with them, brothers and sisters, And today they are in various management positions, and this is what we are left with. And as he indicated, it is the same with snitch. Huge cost of running an industry, and then you don't appropriate in the proportional, moral manner where the hen that lays the golden egg should be really catered for. That is a challenge. And it is our way of doing things, and it cuts across all facets of our socio-economic life. And that's what we need to challenge. But obviously, a government that will tell the farmers that we're going to look at the whole industry and the way we are managing it and ensure cost benefit, so that a farmer should even be able to get more than 700 Ghana cedis per bag of 64 kilo. It is possible if we feed those who are laying the golden egg, and in this case, it's the cocoa beans. So that's my take on it, and I subscribe to all that the two previous speakers have said. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. And a couple of your messages before I move on to Mr. Pratt. Let's start with those on PAB-MCGH. Washington Darling says it's very pathetic the way the Nanado-led government is treating these poor cocoa farmers. They criticize the Mahama government for not increasing the cocoa price whilst in opposition, but they are doing worse now that Ghanaians have given them the mandate to govern. Fred Mensanyako says this government is paying cocoa farmers more than our NDC did. Let's be truthful, because lies will keep us in opposition. Ghana today is paying farmers more than any other country in the world. Emmanuel Thompson says that good morning to you and your guests. Ghana will work again in 2021 when JDM comes. I'm for JDM. Nana Boja says, can you please discuss monies being wasted on pollinators? It is sickening to hear that MPP has employed about 30,000 pollinators. The question is, how long does it take a pollinator to pollinate cocoa tree? How many were pollinated during 2017-2018 main crop season? Take a second look at that area. It is just job for the boys. That's Ambrose from the UK. And finally, good morning, Alhaji And Alhaji. It's for Kofi Okwampa. Good morning, Alhaji And Alhaji. Something is going on. Please help me to understand. I used to have a bank account in Beige Bank. They charge me for their services. I have another account at Unibank. They also charge for their services. Now, Bank of Ghana has consolidated all this into one bank, meaning all my two accounts become one account. Okay, I'm expecting the account now in a consolidated bank to be charging their services from merged account. But up to now, Beige is charging and Unibank too is charging me too. Well, it's an interesting situation. And let's read a couple more messages from WhatsApp. Our WhatsApp platform is 0233-995905. And this one from Eriko Kono at La Paz says, look at how cocoa farmers are suffering under the leadership of President Nanado. No free cocoa fertilizer. Please ask President Nanado, when he was elected as president, how many times did he increase fuel prices but he refused to increase cocoa price. And this one, Chris from Achali Botre, says the MPP government should get serious. They lack ideas to govern, and Ghanaians are paying the price for their incompetence. And this one, I am here from Nogwa. I greet all your Saturday program presented, and thank you so much for fighting for farmers all over the country over low cocoa producer price that cannot balance their yearly expenses. This one, Apia Bwedu, says, I think Cocoa Board should be scrapped to a committee of free-minded personalities in conjunction with cocoa farmers, only to work during cocoa seasons. Williams in Koforidua says, it is only under MPP government that you have a manager at the office of the Chief Executive Officer of Cocoa Board and a spokesman on infrastructure when there is no infrastructure to show. How on God's green earth would cocoa farmers who brave the vagaries of the weather to produce cocoa live in tattered penury whilst managers live in Byzantine luxury? And this one says, good morning to you and your panelists. Tell the MPP and their men about their false promises. Akando should hammer them more. Simon Dokpo, alias MP, commander of Hawks from Baglo Boem in the Volta region. Dr. Baumia is proud to say the state of the economy is good. Anyway, why not? Anytime he get cold, the government lifts him to London with my money. I buy fuel, pay and feed him. Ghana would have been a collapsed state under Nanado and MPP if they were to have met to do so. And this one, Comrade Senna, good morning to you and your panelists. Not forgetting my brother, Comrade Kwesi Prajinia. Senna, in my 61 years existence in this world, I have never known a deceitful, corrupt, bogus, and treacherous nepotistic government like this useless one that we have now. And yet, Mr. Rawlings and those blindfolded pastors and vocal civil society have seen nothing wrong. God will judge us all one day. That's from Hamza in Nima. And finally, this one from Josiah Michel Cameron said, we should stop blaming incompetent leaders because the 1992 Constitution contains so many flaws which have arrogated too much power to the president, making him omnipotent. On that note, Mr. Pratt.
Well, you know, about a year ago, I had a conversation with a very prominent Ivorian politician. And he indicated to me that the Ivorian economy was not doing so well, and that the government of Alassane Ouattara had not been able to increase the producer price of cocoa, and that was having a telling effect on the Ivorian economy to the extent that smuggling of cocoa from La Côte d'Ivoire to Ghana was on the increase. This Ivorian politician told me then that Alassane Ouattara's government was going to make an approach to the Akufo-Addo government so that the two countries would have what he then called a uniformed producer price for cocoa. Indeed, I thought that I was in a dream world. I could not believe what I was being told then. Until 2 months later, I saw in the Daily Graphic a report to that effect, that the Ivorian government was proposing the introduction of a uniform price, producer price for cocoa. And I could not believe it. I mean, since I became aware of cocoa as a commodity, there has always been this situation. When the Ghanaian producer price is high, farmers in La Côte d'Ivoire prefer to sell their cocoa in Ghana. And when the producer price is high in La Côte d'Ivoire, farmers in Ghana prefer to sell their cocoa in La Côte d'Ivoire. And this has been an important factor in the movement of the producer price. Now, a couple of years ago, La Côte d'Ivoire decided to remove this factor. And for me, it was a very, very significant development. It was a very significant development to the extent that as soon as you remove that factor, the cocoa farmer becomes a victim. You understand? Because that competition, which pushes up the price of cocoa for the benefit of the cocoa farmer, is removed completely. I have no information right now that it is this push from La Côte d'Ivoire which has led to a situation where the Ghanaian government has decided not to increase the producer price of cocoa. But it could very well be. And if it is, I'm very deeply worried about sacrificing Ghanaian interest for the interest of La Côte d'Ivoire. And I make this point very, very strongly because La Côte d'Ivoire does not appear to be in the mood for cooperation with Ghana and other West African countries, which would lead to maximizing, revenue for West African countries and so on. And we should not forget that it was La Côte d'Ivoire which actually took the Ghana government to court over our oil and gas resources. Indeed, over the years, since Nkrumah's era, La Côte d'Ivoire, not just La Côte d'Ivoire under Houphouët-Boigny, that's the tradition which Alassane Ouattara represents in La Côte d'Ivoire politics, has always sought to undermine the Ghanaian economy. And I would be very surprised if that is one of the factors leading to the decision not to increase the producer price of cocoa. Now, having said that, there are some very interesting developments, and we just heard one of those developments on this very station. Just had a situation where a texter has actually sent in a message indicating that the current producer price of cocoa is higher than what existed in 2016. And I'm just wondering, I'm so lost, how anybody can come to that conclusion. Indeed, over the last 2 years, the producer price of cocoa has not been increased. So how can anybody make the point that the current price, the current producer price of cocoa is higher than what existed in 2016? But you see, there's a lot of disinformation about not just the producer price of cocoa, the economy, education, and so on. And we just had a very typical example. I like to read the newspapers on Saturday morning because sometimes they reveal a lot. And this morning, I read the Ghanaian Times. I spent some time reading the Ghanaian Times. And I find on page 4 an editorial of the Ghanaian Times which is simply headed, "Producer Price Fighting Must Stop." Very interesting. I've looked through it. It simply says that the argument of a producer price of cocoa is not healthy at all. It doesn't help the country. We should stop it and so on. But I'd like to read 2 very significant paragraphs of this editorial by the state-owned Ghanaian Times to illustrate the point I want to make. Now, this paragraph reads, "Although opposing views are necessary in any democratic dispensation, the Ghanaian Times find the current politicking on the cocoa producer price unhealthy and must stop. If the government has considered the current prevailing economic conditions and settled on a producer price, the least we can do is to interrogate the reasons for the decision and help in the implementation of policies to resolve falling cocoa prices." Now, what is the Ghanaian Times trying to say? I mean, I'm confused. I'm totally confused. Maybe it's my illiteracy, but I'm totally confused, dumbfounded by this editorial. Now, this is an editorial who says that it is good to have differences of opinion, but don't express differences of opinion. This is an editorial who says that when government comes out with policies, citizens have a right to interrogate the policies. But if you interrogate the producer price of cocoa, you are wrong. I mean, sometimes you wonder. I mean, this is a National Daily's editorial. Obviously so confused. Now, what is happening? People realize that there is a problem with the calculation of the producer price of cocoa and so on. They realize that people are entitled to express their views, but they are uncomfortable with people expressing their views. So they take convoluted positions which don't make sense any longer. I mean, amazing, incredible. I recommend that everybody reads this editorial. It says, yes, everybody can express his views, but please don't express your views. Everybody can examine government policy, but when it comes to the producer price of cocoa, please don't do it, and so on. I mean, what is this? But let's leave that aside. The government decision not to increase the producer price of cocoa is based entirely on a drop in the world market price of cocoa, dollars. You understand? The producer price of cocoa on the international market went as high as 2,800 cedis per ton. Now it's dropped to something around $2,000 per ton. You understand? A little over $2,080 per ton. So this is the basis on which the government of Ghana has decided not to increase the producer price of cocoa. But there's something very interesting. The Ghanaian cocoa farmer does not sell his cocoa on the international market for dollars. The Ghanaian cocoa farmer sells his cocoa to the cocoa board for cedis. The cedi has been dropping hopelessly against the dollar. So if you look at the cedi value of cocoa, it has risen, even though the dollar value of cocoa has decreased. You understand? So only Kwaku Anansi can do this kind of thing. I mean, you know the story of Kwaku Anansi and his two sons. And Kwaku Anansi had 3 fingers of banana to share with them. Say, look, I'm your father. You know, at my current age and so on, I don't need so many nutrients to grow and so on. So, 2 bananas. You take one, and all of you give me half. So Kwaku Anansi ends up with 1 finger of banana, and his children end up with half a finger of banana each. This is the story we are being told. You understand? Now, interestingly, the government of Ghana decides that in calculating the producer price of cocoa, it will use an exchange rate of 4 cedis, 45 pesos. You understand? Or 47 pesos as the exchange rate. When in reality, the cedi is exchanging at a minimum of 4 cedis, 80 pesos. So through the exchange rate manipulation, the government of Ghana is making a killing. Through exchange rate manipulation, the producer price of cocoa has been forced down. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So just exchange rate manipulation enables the government of Ghana to cheat the cocoa farmer out of his earnings and so on. And that's a very significant matter. There is something else. I mean, over the last 2 years, the salaries of formal workers, you understand, has been increased. Government has increased the minimum wage, I think, twice, and so on. Now, how does government get money to pay the minimum wage to its employees and insist that the private sector should also pay the minimum wage to its employees? It is through the same system of collecting revenue from citizens. When the revenue has been collected from citizens, government then appropriates that revenue in paying emoluments. You understand? The cocoa farmer is not different from the worker in the civil service, in the public service, and in the other private sector. Indeed, all of us who are paid from the consolidated fund, from public resources and so on, are paid with cocoa money. Cocoa money is part of the revenue which is used in paying us. Now, we are saying that the international market price of cocoa has fallen, and therefore the cocoa farmer should earn less. Okay, what about the other workers? Why are you increasing the salary of other categories of workers and decreasing the salary of cocoa farmers? Because if you do the calculations very carefully, the earnings of cocoa farmers has been reduced, and I'll do that analysis pretty soon. So what is the justification for penalizing cocoa farmers and rewarding other public sector and private sector workers by increasing the minimum wage? I'm confused. I am confused. I mean, where is the justification? I can't understand it. You understand? Now, I insist that the cocoa farmer is getting worse off for a number of reasons. Look, one, some things that the cocoa farmers used to enjoy have now been taken from them. And one of them, for example, is the enjoyment of free fertilizer. Now, they are paying 80 cedis per bag of fertilizer. That comes from the same revenue. It comes from the same producer price of cocoa, which is not going to be increased. In the past, government used to assist cocoa farmers to cut down aged trees. Government used to give them free seedlings to replace the aged seeds and so on. Is that happening today? Somebody should tell us if that is happening today. If that is not happening today, it's a reduction, in the earnings of cocoa farmers. Now, we have increased the price of petroleum products, petrol, by a huge percentage over the last 18 months. The cocoa farmer buys petrol into the machines that they use to cut down aged trees, to spray the cocoa farm, to apply fertilizer, and so on. They use petrol. So the cocoa farmer now is spending more spending more, cultivating the crop, and getting the producer price at the same level, even in spite of exchange rate fluctuations. So the cocoa farmer is worse off. You understand? And we can go on and on and on. I mean, early this year, and I've been using this, I think I have to stop at some time, but it's important now. Joy FM carried out a survey which indicated that food items, mainly imported, their prices have gone up by 150%. The cocoa farmer also eats. You understand? The cocoa farmer also buys tin tomatoes. You should go to the villages and see how they value tin tomatoes. They grow their own tomatoes, but they think that when they cook, a little addition of tin tomatoes makes it more, sexy, makes the food more sexy. So they like to buy tin tomatoes. You understand? They like to buy tinapa. Yeah, they like to buy tinapa. They like their crantiers and so on. They use that in cooking. But when they get visitors, when you come from Accra and so on, they like to add small tinapa to your food, and so on. The price of tinapa is gone through the roofs and so on. Why? They buy wax print for their women at the end of the year. That is also gone up and so on. So the cocoa farmer is not in a position, of prosperity and so on. I mean, the retention of the producer price of cocoa has very, very serious implications for the cocoa farmers. And I mean, over the last 3 days, I've been listening to cocoa farmers lament and cry on radio. I mean, yesterday morning, Peter Bamfo and others were interviewing cocoa farmers on this station. And they were in agony. They were telling us about the experiences, what they suffer, and so on. In any case, there's a very fundamental question that we need to answer. There's a fundamental problem that we need to address. Look, Ghana and La Côte d'Ivoire are the world's leading producers of cocoa. In fact, between Ghana and La Côte d'Ivoire, I think we produce more than 50% of the world's requirement of cocoa. So, far more than 50%. And yet, what do we get, out of the revenue that the entire cocoa industry generates, including the primary industry, the secondary industry, and the tertiary industry? What do we get? We get peanuts. You understand? I'm told by one estimate that we get about 5%. In spite of the fact that we produce the bulk of the cocoa that is used in the world. Now, this situation needs to change. Just sitting there and saying that the world market price of cocoa has gone down and therefore we should retain the producer price of cocoa does not tackle the fundamental inequality in the whole cocoa industry chain. It doesn't address that. Now, over the years, we have been told that the way to deal with that is to do value addition in the cocoa industry. Now, if you're going to do value addition in the cocoa industry, what are we going to do? You see, cocoa is used for the production of chocolates and other other things, biscuits and so on. Look, we should not be focusing on the production of chocolate. We should not be focusing on adding cocoa to biscuits and so on. You know why? Because in this world of severe competition and so on, producing people's dessert is a very risky business. And when people have eaten, when they've done everything they want and finished, if they have extra income, they will eat a chocolate. They will eat a toffee and so on. You understand? So it becomes an economic activity which is not sustainable over the years, especially as the whole world economy is moving into recession. People will eat less chocolate, people would eat less toffee and so on. You understand? So when we come to talk about value addition in the cocoa industry, we should be looking at things that people cannot do without. Now, we are fortunate that Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah established the Cocoa Research Institute. And the Cocoa Research Institute has been doing wonderful work over the years. The Cocoa Research Institute has now fully established the medicinal value of cocoa. Cocoa is a drug, is a medicine. Its value is now fully established. So if you want to do value addition, why don't we go into cocoa for the production of pharmaceuticals? Why don't we go into cocoa for the production of medicine? That value addition makes a lot more sense than producing chocolates. Because people fall sick. People need to be healthy and so on. That's a need. That's not a luxury. And we can capitalize on that. Now you go to the high-end fashion industry, and you will be amazed. I mean, look, the Cocoa Research Institute at Tafo now produces cocoa soap from cocoa. They produce cocoa soap. It is in very high demand everywhere in the world. And I cannot understand why our government has not invested substantially into the production of cocoa soap, which is in high demand everywhere in the world. I mean, I went to a shop in the UK. One cake of that soap was selling for £5. £5 sterling, one cake of that soap, which you can get in Ghana for nothing. So what is happening is that people come, they buy 2, 3, 4 cartons, take it to London, take it to Paris, take it to Moscow and so on, and sell. And they make a killing out of it. Why is our government not interested? And if you talk to the Cocoa Research Institute, they will tell you that their main problem is the lack of finance for expansion. Why is our government not looking there? Because if you are producing cocoa soap, rather than exporting cocoa beans and so on, we would not get to the situation where the producer price, the international market price would be what it is today and so on. We'll be doing value addition, we'll be in a much stronger position to pay our cocoa farmers a lot more than we are paying them today. Look, they are manufacturing now cocoa whiskey, cocoa brandy, cocoa gin, and so on. I'm sure some of you have seen these products. I have. You understand? Now, for me, what is shocking? I mean, I get friends, and the cocoa gin, cocoa whiskey, and so on is reasonably priced, so reasonably priced that I buy it. You understand? And when I get friends and so on, I give it to them to try. People taste it, and they say, my goodness, what a product. But do you know the problem? We put them in plastic bottles, making them most unattractive. You understand? What does it take to invest small money in the production of cocoa gin, cocoa whiskey, cocoa, whatever. You understand? And putting them in nice bottles like Takai bottles. You see the Takai bottles? The Takai bottles are sexy. That is why Takai is selling.
Why did you sleep yesterday?
I slept in my bed.
Well, that's another.
It's language. No, it's language. You understand? It's language. You understand? Look at the Takai bottle. It's so attractive and so on. You understand? I mean, look, I was driving through Alhaji last week, and then I saw some water manufactured in Ghana, produced in Ghana, water produced in Ghana. But the bottle is round. You know, it's not like the other one, which is it's round, just Ghana water and so on. So I stopped and I bought 2 packs, and in fact, it sells at the same price as all the other water and so on. And I took it to my office and put it there. When people come to my office and I serve them water, they insist on taking the round one. And I say, why? It's the same water produced by the same company which is producing the other one. Say, no, I like the bottle. You understand? So these are things that we can do to our products to make them a lot more attractive. Just change the bottle of cocoa gin and cocoa whiskey and cocoa brandy and see what will happen to it. And give the Cocoa Research Institute, the resources they need to be able to produce a lot more of that. Or set up a different factory to use their research findings to produce them and see what you do to the cocoa industry. I mean, we are all sitting down sleeping. Now look, the cocoa farmer is told that because the world market price of cocoa has fallen, his price should not be increased. That's what he's told. Shouldn't we be looking at a situation where officials of the cocoa board, the level of comfort they enjoy is also enjoyed by cocoa farmers? Look at the level of comfort that people at one end of the industry enjoy and the level of misery that people at the other end of the industry suffer. Does it make sense to us? It obviously doesn't make sense to us. Another product which is being produced by Cocoa Research Institute is Alatasamina. I don't know if you have seen it. I have seen it. I mean, they produce Alatasamina in solid form. They also produce it in liquid form and so on. Why don't you commercialize all of this? I don't know what is wrong with our policymakers. I don't know what is wrong with our public officials. I can't understand them. Every time I feel like weeping. Because the solution to the problems lies around us. And yet, we are groping in the dark, running to IMF and World Bank for solutions which don't exist. And we are taking measures which are imposing considerable hardship on our people. What is wrong with us? I can't believe it. You understand? And then, of course, people profit from what they do. I'm not surprised that today we can be told that the producer price of cocoa today is higher than 2 years ago. I mean, the other time I was on radio and I was making the general point about hardship in our society and so on. And then I went back to my office. And then I get a telephone call from a professor. Somebody who teaches in the university. And who is asking me, who told you that there's hardship in Ghana? Oh. Yes, a professor in the university. And the insults he heaped on me on my own phone. He has the audacity to call my phone to insult me for saying that there's hardship in Ghana. And this man is teaching in the university. God knows what kind of products are coming out of that university which has this man as a professor. He's not just a lecturer, he's a professor. What is he teaching them? You understand? And he thinks that there's no hardship in Ghana and so on. I mean, incredible. But this is where we are. It is the educated elite which is killing our country. I rest my case.
Thank you very much, Uncle Kwesi. And a couple of messages on our Facebook on Pub MCGH. And Ibrahim Ibe says, on which channel or station can I watch this? You can watch it on Pub MCGH. Benjamin Kofi says, Uncle Pratt, you are too much. Please go to region by region. Talk to our fathers, not for any party, but just open their thinking. This one, Pusiga Farouk says, may Allah bless you all for your good work without any predicaments. And Kwesi Ferguson is asking, why didn't you advise the NDC during their time? Shame on you all. And Johnson, Kunales, Clifford, the OVG, Uncle Kwesi, forgive them, by their fruit we shall know them. All those roadside media houses, how long can you keep on lying to the people of GH? Kingdom Kalechi Kwesi Dachumo says, watching my political sermons according to Uncle Kwesi Pride Jr., who says it as it is without mincing words. Uncle Kwesi, don't be marveled. The national news agencies are part of the confusion and frustration that engulf this ineptitude, incompetent, and incurable corrupt government. This one from Chikuzemi Shaka says, there's a GMO threat our leaders are trying to impose on the citizen, both in Ghana and Africa as a whole. Mr. Pratt, the champion of Africa, could you discuss this topic, please? This one, Zoom K Quality, says that earlier we campaigned vigorously and finally vote out this Akufo-Addo 419 chrono family debt addicted government, the better for us all. Ebenezer Obinche says, good afternoon, Senna, in your guest. It's still morning. I can tell you for a fact that the MPP is busy taxing mobile money operators, especially tabletop operators with 300 Ghana, reporting from La Paz. Ni Ofoliate says, Mr. Pratt is full of facts. You can't debate. I salute your priceless integrity, Mr. Pratt. And this one, Nana Boja says, well, okay, I think I've read that one already. Let me take a couple from our WhatsApp platform. And it says, Musa Abato and Kumasi says, Senna, why is it that any time former President Mahama speaks, the entire foundation of the MPP is shaking? Now they are confusing themselves as to the difference between the review and collapse. Maybe they need a Colombian university professor to understand this theory. Ghanaian education system has turned into traffic light. If we change the bad change in 2020, GM will do it better because he's tried and tested. And Olanyo in Akwitia says, for NDC to sit down and formulate policies to enable Ghanaians to know the good policy they can offer. They rather prefer to do propaganda, lies, cheap politics with cocoa price, with cocoa farmers. How can a meaningful Ghanaian take NDC serious? And Habib in Sawam says, Senna, good morning to you and your cherished listeners. President Akufo-Addo clear theory of the cocoa farmer is only a tip of the iceberg. The ordinary Ghanaian has been reduced to nothing by Nana Akufo-Addo government. The abysmal performance of President Akufo-Addo and rebels has turned President Mahama into saint, has given President Mahama a sainthood status. His Excellency President Mahama, we are sorry for voting you out, but God willing, we'll vote against Nana Akufo-Addo come 2020. And this one, greetings to you, boss. Nana Addo and his incompetent New Patriotic Party has nothing good for us. Still 2020, we'll go show Nana. That's Thompson from Komenda in the Central Region. In fact, this government wants to take the cocoa farmers for granted. The farmers were given free fertilizers by the previous government for free. But as soon as this government came, they are selling it to them. Again, this insensitive government doesn't want to increase the price for them. I wonder if it is deliberate attempt by this government to do that to our farmers. That's from St. Prince in Amanase. Senna, around this time in 2016, amidst all the challenges, all that the MPP told cocoa farmers was that a bag of cocoa should be selling at 700 cedis and not 475. It is sad that the same MPP for 2 years now is unable to add a dime to the producer price of cocoa, leaving the farmer, dashing the hopes of the farmer. Kasatinting, I think they said and Tom Ponko or something. Government should honor the 700 Ghana per bag promise. That's from Kokomoli Nanegbe. And this one, please, radio will kindly chip in a few minutes to discuss the president's UN address. Wish to hear Mr. Pratt's take on this speech. And this one, Angelo Kojofiagba. We are in trouble under this substandard government led by Akufo-Addo and his incompetent Baumia. In Ga Odumasi today, we cannot sleep in our rooms anymore because of harassment of armed robbers. Charles Nyamina Samankese says, I'm just imagining an NDC government in power, deny our struggling farmers an increase in the price of cocoa for 2 years running. This country will have turned upside down by now. Lest we forget the SWL NDC government increased the price from 105 Ghana cedis to 475 Ghana cedis. In addition, they gave fertilizers and seedlings for free. But what are we seeing today? Never again to this highly insensitive MPP government. And finally, this one, good morning, Senator. Thanks for this important discussion on the cocoa industry. Are we surprised that this government is collapsing the cocoa industry and attempting to replace it with rubber plantations because they and their cohort are seriously investing in rubber plantations? We also hear that they are investing in the cocoa industry in Cote d'Ivoire, so theirs will continue to thrive, and both ways. They will benefit and make Ghana and the cocoa farmers poorer. That's coming from Sister Mansa. And if you just join us or listen to the Mother of All Talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji is proudly brought to you by, sponsored by Franco Trading Enterprise, Apollonia CDT Brothers, Ines Fly, and Kulun Ghana. My name is Sana Numbo. Let's move on to our next topic, and it's about that report issued by ISE indicating that the CD may depreciate further against the dollar and the major trading currency. An indication by the finance minister that we may need to tighten our bets a bit more. Let's start. Let's go back to Dr. Eduardo Maniboma.
Thanks very much, Senator. As I said earlier on, the discussion centered on the producer price of cocoa is anchored in the exchange rate as well. So your first two topics, I think, were carefully selected to demonstrate the situation in which we find ourselves as a people. And I also said that the MPP quoted ISE in their 2016 manifesto. And so one would be very surprised if today they come attacking ISE on this revelation. But will you be surprised? Maybe yes, maybe no. Let me also emphasize that really some governments can even theoretically decide that based on a certain national strategy, exchange rate must be at a certain level. If it's based on a clear, well thought through strategy that you are weakening your currency as a country in order to boost exports, the discussion will be different. And that will demonstrate that you have thought through your policies and you think that you have gotten to the stage where you are adding value significantly to your raw materials and you are exporting. And so you are better off with a certain exchange rate that will boost your exports. Ghana cannot be said to be in that category of countries because as we speak now, our import bill is massive. And so we are not better off at this stage with an exchange rate that is unfavorable to us. And as we discuss this issue, we need to recall the picture that the MPP painted in 2016. They had a plethora of sufferers. Farmers are suffering, teachers are suffering, workers are suffering. And if you begin to compare and contrast the prevailing situation at the time and what we are seeing today, then one wonders the superlatives that will be given to suffering. If 2016 was described as suffering, then 2018 will really maybe attract hell as a description. Let's face it. Check fuel prices from 14 Ghana cedis a gallon. A gallon is made up of 4.5 liters. To today's between 24 and 25 Ghana cedis. In less than 2 years, not less than 10 Ghana cedis has been added to a gallon of petrol or diesel. And so if at the time the MPP said drivers are suffering, workers are suffering at 14 Ghana cedis, then today from 14 to 24 Ghana cedis, what description are they going to offer? And it is real. It is excruciating suffering. It's as if some vaporizers have been put in the tanks of vehicles. You buy fuel, and in a matter of days, they are gone. Whether you are buying diesel or you are buying petrol. Listen to the drivers. Some of them have said even their wives are divorcing them. And when we talk about drivers, we are not just referring to commercial drivers. We are also referring to private people who are not running their vehicles for commercial day in, day out movement, going to work and all. Doctors, nurses, teachers, farmers as well, journalists, chiefs. It's not me saying it. Put your ears on the ground. And the vibes are clear. And this increase affects transport fares as well. And so it is not just going to people who own vehicles, but also the people who patronize vehicles in order to be able to move to and fro for their daily activities. Initially, I spoke about the food sector and said tomato has gone up by at least 30% according to the Isoko index. A few days ago in Takrade, vendors of yogurt, those who sell yogurt, were up in arms. Why? Because of the increase in the price. I mean, some people are unable to afford one full piece, and so they may buy it cut into 2 pieces. There was protest in Takrade yogurt. is it just about yogurt? Beer. Accra Brewery Limited issued this statement in September, that is precisely 19th of September, about price review. And basically, this is a letter that is saying, this letter serves as notice regarding price increases on Accra Brewery Limited products effective 1st October 2018. The price adjustment has become necessary as a result of a number of changes over the past 18 months. Over the past 18 months, it's very clear. Elections have effects. The most significant of which is a change in VAT to separate the NHIL and GET Fund, announced in the mid-year budget review, blah, 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 blah. So this is also clear evidence, the times in which we are. This is not my letter. This is not a letter from the NDC headquarters. This is from the Accra Brewery Limited. These price changes have affected pure water, Milo, milk, Nido, sugar. And so if you have a child who is benefiting from free SHS and the child is going to school and you're going to buy Milo, milk, Nido, sugar for that child, you are paying more. Matches has been affected, Cutlass, pen, and several others. But with this excruciating hardship, and I'm describing the context within which Issa drops this bombshell. Within this hardship, instead of government providing jobs, government is supervising massive job losses. Massive job losses. And scanning through several portals here in Ghana, evidence is abundant. Vodafone massively lays off workers. About 1,500 to 2,000 employees lost their jobs within the first 4 months of 2017. Workers lose jobs in Tema as steel factory shuts down. About 400 workers of a steel company in Tema, Ryder Steel Ghana Limited, had laid off due to the company's inability to pay for what they describe as unfair and high electricity tariff. TV3 sacks workers in massive restructuring. 100 workers of TV3 have been laid off. Government itself to lay off public sector workers. Goldfields to lay off 1,700 workers. About 200 workers of Central University to be sacked. Massive job losses hit Capital and UT Bank staff, and that's about 1,000. And some of them, as we speak, former Capital Bank staff grills pork for survival. Delayed posting of unemployed bonded nurses and midwives. Whereas from 2015 to 2016, the NDC administration had employed about 23,000 nurses. As we speak, the nurses continue with the strikes and all. And we had said there were hospitals that were nearing completion. And these hospitals were to employ more nurses, more doctors and all. And the hospitals were clear. They were available. The clearest evidence of the availability of these hospitals can be found in what happened this week when Melania Trump visited Ghana. She was sent to the Ridge Hospital. Another President Mahama, another NDC legacy. So the question is, why is the government not employing the nurses? We did the hard work and we said upon completion of these hospitals, more of the nurses were going to be employed, over and above the 23,000 that had been employed from 2015 to 2016. It continues. Troubled BXC lays off workers by September. 400 out of 600 workers dismissed. Defunct Beige Capital Bank sacks workers. 500 staff of Beige Bank have been dismissed. Mass dismissals hit Indom's JN Media as company struggles for survival. About 450 staff to be laid off. EIB Network to lay off workers from a number of outlets in Kumasi, Nkoko, Accra, and Takoradi. TV Africa suspends all programs effective September 3. 5 collapsed banks be ready for job losses. EcoBank shuts down 10 branches. And this is about 180 outsourced staff laid off. Collapsed bank workers to lose jobs in September. This is estimated at 1,700 workers. Consolidated Bank sacks security personnel. So it's not even affecting those who are pushing paper and pen, those behind computers. Security personnel sacked. Over 2,000 rendered unemployed. Debt fund capping, NHL capping, and all also affecting contractors. And so that is also estimated at well over 5,000 job losses. Non-payment of contractors, that's about 10,000 of it, and so on and so forth. Ban on small-scale mining without alternative source of livelihood. Over 50,000 jobs. And I'm not talking about Galamsey. This is small-scale mining. Over 50,000 jobs lost. This is the context that we are discussing the exchange rate difficulties in. Whilst we look at the hardships, the job losses, what has this government done? And the ABL letter points to it. Taxes. It was very clear the government was going to increase VAT. The government decided not to increase VAT, but to deceive Ghanaians. Because in actual fact, if you touch VAT and you introduce sales tax, with sales tax, I do not have any opportunity to go and make any other claims as I can make on VAT. So, we have import duties going over the rooftop, over 75% gone up. People at Abose Okai, Swami Magazine. And sometimes when we talk about import duties, we only refer to people at Abose Okai and Swami Magazine. Yes, it is right, but it is wider than that. Because the impact of importation cuts across several sectors. Food is imported. Because the import substitution strategy of the NDC administration has been jettisoned. Deliberate effort went into investing in the rice sector, investing in the poultry industry, so that we will increase production and reduce importation with the introduction of a non-tariff measure, which was the titration of poultry products. Yes, if you want to bring in some poultry products, you must guarantee that you will be buying a certain amount from the local poultry farmers. But none of these are being followed through. What we keep hearing is the mantra of we are better managers of the economy. When President Mahama cautioned against the difficulties that the city was having in reciprocating the vice president, who is the head of the economic management team, held insults. Meanwhile, President Mahama, as vice president and as head of the economic management team, had supervised one of the best macroeconomic periods in our country, where inflation for well over 30 months running was single digit, not the 9.8, 9.9 that we see, because if you round off 9.8, 9.9, you get to 10. Insults. Today, Isse has said it. It's not President Mahama. But we shouldn't have waited for even President Mahama to say it. At the time when our Vice President, Mahmoud Bawumia, was talking about having locked up the currency and giving the keys to the IGP and all, he should have spent that effort to do real work to ensure that the city will be stronger. But he decided to spend his time on propaganda. And so, what you begin to see is a government that, in trying very hard to demonstrate that they are doing better than the NDC, they once again resort to deception. But President Mahama says deception will not help you. And so we have Bawumia, who takes 15 months performance under the Akufo-Addo administration and compares that with entire 8 years of the NDC. And then he is ably supported by the Bank of Ghana in this deception. And I'm wondering what is happening at the Bank of Ghana. Because it is this same Bank of Ghana that has supervised the use of 4.54 Ghana cedi to $1 parity in this calculation for the producer price of cocoa instead of 4.8. And it was this same Bank of Ghana who somewhere around May, June refused to provide the extent of Ghana's indebtedness, both locally and externally, in order to allow government to limit borrowing up to February. And when government limited borrowing up to February, to reduce the level of the debt, government did not use the GDP figure for February, but rather use the GDP figure that had been projected to calculate the debt to GDP ratio, which painted a picture of a very favorable debt to GDP ratio. And I'm beginning to get very worried about the Bank of Ghana. Cocoa farmers, we are seeing the Bank of Ghana move. These banks that are collapsing, we are seeing the Bank of Ghana move. What happened in February up to June, where the indebtedness was capped, not released, we are seeing a Bank of Ghana move. This is not healthy for the economy. So, my brother, as we begin to look at this as a people, we need to understand that we have a hopeless economic management team that is in charge. And it's sad to say this. We have a hopeless economic management team that is overborrowing and is unable to tell us what they are using the borrowed monies for. We have a hopeless economic management team that cannot manage the exchange rate. And this has untold consequences in terms of hardships for the people of Ghana. But I want to add that with these difficulties, it does not guarantee, that is the hopelessness of our economic management team as we see today as a country, does not present a fait accompli to the NDC, our political party. We need to do hard work. We need to ensure that we put forward concrete proposals that will expand the frontiers of the achievements, the monumental achievements that we chalked whilst we were in government. And in doing so too, we will also need to review where we had challenges. And those challenges, as we address them, will present us as a much more viable alternative to the current mess in which we find ourselves.
Okay, Doc.
NPP has failed the people of Ghana, and as a political party in opposition, we must salvage the situation because we feel more for the people of Ghana, even far more than this present government does. And you can find it in the way we governed, the way we developed this country, and the way this party in government is performing.
Okay, Doc.
I ask again.
Have to move to Professor
I know. I ask
because
again.
of time.
The borrowing that they have done, what have they used that money for?
Okay, Doc.
They should tell Ghanaians.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you very much. Our topic is the CD by Isse. Isse's statement is that the CD will further depreciate against the US dollar and call for Ghanaians to tighten their belts. We've been tightening our belts. I recall in '66, after the coup, with a whole propaganda machine of by Ganata and others with cartoons, where they showed Ghana represented by a man, and then the belt holes from '57. You could recall. And by '66, the belt was virtually at the last hole. And so if Issa wants us to do so, I don't know where we start. But you see, made a point, and I've been making that point all along. The tragic situation of Africa is its elite. Because more than 60, next year will be 62 years. I mean, if Ghana were born, anybody who was born at that time, he would be on pension. So we'll be mature, the fellow will be mature more than you will expect. And so on a serious note, if we ask ourselves, and we take ourselves out of indices are appropriate because they tell us a lot, because what goes into calculating those indices reflect the economic situation. But if our dollar CD rate is where it is today, and indeed if you have the well-trusted currency authority making projections that if you don't take care by the end of next year, we'll be getting to $6, 6 cedis to $1. The last time the vice president came to give a glorious and heartwarming or soothing explanation, and as usual, as the case, he will always have a reference point, 2013. If somebody said 2013, then you knew the reference point. He only said that there was depreciation, but it's to say that it was mild. A blow is a blow. At the time, he was deputy governor, and when the new currency that we have now came into full force, I think, on the 1st of July or 1st of August 2007. What was the catchphrase? The value is the same. It even started with a stronger cedi. Today, where are we? And is it any surprise that we are where we are? I just Googled and I read the data we have as at 2016. There might be a latest one. It showed that Ghana imported various commodities ranging from animal products, vegetables, food, minerals, fuels, chemicals, plastic and rubber, hides and skin, wood, textile clothing, footwear, stone and glass, metals, machinery and electricals, transportation, vehicles, and a whole range of miscellaneous commodities to the tune of $12.5 billion US dollars. And our export with cocoa accounting for over 13.5% was 16.5 billion, leaving a balance of about 4 billion, which meant we exported more than we. But if you even took cocoa out, then you realize that it was negative. And our major trading partners are 5 in terms of ranking. China, we imported goods to the tune of 2.71 billion. UK, 1.05 billion. The USA, $904 million. India, 595. And then Belgium and Luxembourg, or the other countries, 505 million. And it will interest you to know that when you zero in on food, and who Kosipra told us about the market, and I think when I was coming, look, what do we see on the market? Walk through any shop. I just went out to buy something, and from food processed protein, either mackerel, sardine, corned beef, or condiments like curry, spicy chicken, poultry, etc. Everything you see on any major market, from Accra to anywhere, Tamale Market, Kotokraba, Machapo Square, or whatever, all over, Kejetia, name them. I can bet you, and Okaishi today, booming, go there, 95% of all those items are imported. Do you understand? Now, in today's graphic, Mr. Kofinti, the Commissioner General of GRA, Ghana Revenue Authority, said the last 5 years, through more practices at Tema, Ghana lost $4.5 billion. So more revenue that we could have raked in. So if you average for the past 5 years, every year, $1 billion, fine. So the actual figure obviously will be higher because budget statements will always be telling you what we should be getting from customs, and Tema ranks number 1. You understand? Because that's where we got our money. And governments have always been interested in what they get, and they need more to fulfill promises, but they don't actually go to the root source to look at the entire range of processes and where we could arrest or where we could do something. That is a tragic situation. And so officials, top financial experts, technocrats, ministries, everywhere, consultants, come and confuse themselves, and they think they are confusing us. But the results are what we see. Do you understand? I was in this studio and I told you that walk to any, and there's a notable stationery shop, I wouldn't mention name because of you don't need to advertise. This pen I'm holding is 50 pesos. And it has been so for the past 1.5 years. 50 pesos, this pen. And Senna, all of us, we behave like children. I hardly have a pen a week. Either I consciously live 1 year. I don't know whether it's my bad habit, but all of us. As for the children, a pen doesn't last a week. A pencil doesn't last a week. Math set after exams becomes useless because either protractor is gone or set square is finished. And if we take ourselves and we take the number of students, how many? 400,000 we say SS, then go back to primary school. If a company were manufacturing pens in Ghana, wouldn't there be a rich market? We don't need any marketing source from outside the shores of Ghana. Wouldn't there be market? But as we sit here, precious, saleable, hot demand items, pen, pencil, eraser, sharpener, exercise book, name them. Christmas is coming. Christmas goods are arriving at Tema. And I know our budget in November will be telling us of expected revenue. So we are interested in landing commodities at Tema to charge duty. You understand? And I'm giving the raw basis. Then what do we wear? Anything all of us is wearing here today. Tell me where it was produced. North Carnation Industrial Area. The footwear, with due respect, our underwear, any gadget, that bracelets that we have. What do we produce in this country? And so he said it's not telling us anything new. He said it's not telling us anything new. We cannot blame any tariff or WTO or anything for what we are doing to ourselves today. Even mackerel, the fish we buy at the market, tuna, 5 for 3 cedis, 3 for 5 cedis or whatever, the food joints we have in the night, everything is imported. Poultry, look, everything, the ajameri rice we buy, the fried rice and the cook this, the chicken, everything that you have is imported. So what are we doing to ourselves? Now, if you do even a projection, it could be conjecture, but it's absolutely on the right side. The scale, I cannot tell. If we lost 4.5 billion, averaging 1 billion roughly a year, then you expect so much. Look at all these goods I have mentioned. The import bill, Bank of Ghana, they sit on top of everything. The dollars, the pound sterling, the euros, the safest that people command and hold in importing goods through Tema or any other import source. Do the banks supply that amount of money? The top banks, the amount of the billions of dollars within circulation that traders are using, do they supply? And our GRA and others, do they have exact figures on the financial transactions, what goes through Okaishin, etc.? They don't. Because the socio-cultural character is such that informal sector, you go to Aboso Ghana, you can buy a second-hand engine for about 4,500. They can ask you now, you receive interest also. But you know, do work for government, 400 Ghana cedi, they will take 20% withholding tax. That will tell you that record keeping is still rudimentary. These are the realities that governments need to sit down and look at. And I also raise the issue about that. Can anybody, our financial experts, can anybody produce pen and sell it for 50 pesos, given the cost of input, electricity, wages, etc.? Can anybody? So that is a challenge for us. And some of us who are a bit old, at least, thank God, we've seen it. And I give a litany of things that we produce in this country. Matches we don't produce here. Wawa trees are all over and we buy them for a scaffold in our buildings. Wawa, we produce matches, Brim match factory, right here, Kede, and it was brought to industrial area here. We produce vehicles here. And I am saying with nostalgia because I have a cousin who work at Umakofi. And they just brought broken parts, chassis, and he was an auto electrician who could wire a car from dashboard to tailboard. We had the expertise. So, if there's no paradigm shift, and it is about glorification, about in my time or within our period, the cedi depreciation was relatively low at 2.7, etc. The cumulative effect is what we are talking about. Where it is got to, and the amount of dollars Bank of Ghana pumps into the system every week, just to keep the pressure and maintain the balance in our financial transaction. You can't believe it. You can't believe it. So Israel has not told us anything new. They have just affirmed what we know. You see? And then what we have now are ineptitude on the side of technocrats. And the political establishment has taken everything onto itself. So technocrats, look at the issue. I wouldn't mention this recent men's gold and other things. It is failure on the system. If you read the address by the deputy governor to the Bar Association conference a few weeks ago in Takoradi, in Koforidua, you ask yourself, the elite, the matter is in court, so I will stay off. But it is plain thievery at the highest order. If Kpakpo, Issa, Kojo, and others were to steal a cocoa at the market, they will be lynched. But the elite at that level, thievery. But what happens? You see, so the way we are going, and I always make this point that when morality breaks down or fails, society crumbles. And I believe anybody in government will be sweating. But if we don't really tackle the fundamentals and we do things the way we are going, we will just be massaging like a saw, ulcerated saw, or whatever you call it. If you don't go to the root cause, you will be dressing it up, seeing your Manibuama doctor at his clinic all the time. They will be dressing it up, and the sore for 1 year will never heal. Because you must go to the fundamental basis. And for me, that is at the heart of it. And it becomes a challenge going into the next election. And indeed, what is happening, the electorate will be demanding greater responsibility and accountability and greater projection for me to make sure that indeed, when I vote for somebody, he is not a magician to do everything. But like I said, if a railway line is a railway or rail transport is the cheapest means of land transport for haulage of cargo beyond water, at least within your term, let us see that the railway line from Accra to Nsawam and beyond is moving. Then we know you are making progress. Just like it was started with the Yi schools. The other day I heard the spokesperson of the private schools talking. He said, look, we have 259 senior high private schools. And if each of them could take 700, you wouldn't be talking about 180 backlog if you couldn't continue with you understand. And because of the free, they made representations to government that until the free started, they were also on the school selection list. You could select a private school, but because of that, because of the free, they were not placed in there. And so many of them have students are now students in session from 3. From 2, from 1, they don't. You understand? And then we have foisted this thing on ourselves. You understand? So they were making the point that, look, if you will be paying 800 cedis to feed somebody's child free, even those who could afford, give that money to us so that we could also take some of the students. And many of the schools are in the urban centers. You understand? They said, Neil. But they suited themselves. They said, look, at least we've told our members to take heart. Because of the nature of the schedule, green and gold or gold and green, exactly. We will be taking students, and they are already advertising. They said this the previous Friday. Now they are advertising. Students are coming in their numbers, registering per subject for remedials until they go to school when green is up, or they go to school when gold is up. You understand? So there are many practical things that are within range. And indeed, if anybody says, I will review this double track, or I will review the educational system, you only have to ask the fellow, how do you do it? Because to tell me that you can't review this system, where a professor at the University of Ghana's child is going to school for 3 months and you feed him free, but he was able to pay fees at Morning Star. You see, so this CD issue is a topic you picked, Senna, for the discussion, but it is intertwined with the issues we are discussing. Once you want your toothpick, your meat, your socks, the ribbon, the chalewote, the underwear, your vehicles, and then he said, when I read it, they said, China, you know China? China with their 2.7 billion. You know the highest import? Automobile. The Sino trucks, the automobile. These are the things that we import when we produce vehicles here. You understand? So this is a topic. It's well good that you have introduced. You brought this topic for us to discuss. But then any future government has a tremendous tax, and we want to see who is capable.
Thank you very much, Prof. Ambassador.
High Commissioner.
India.
India.
After listening to Dr. Mani Boma and my good friend, I'm getting a bit sad of what we have done to ourselves as a country, descending so low from where Dr. Jefu took us. Sana, you may not have come to see Ghana when Ghana was Ghana. Prof, you remember the first international trade fair?
Yeah.
Not this structure, the international trade fair. That is where you saw made in Ghana goods comparable to any product in the world. Edo zips, razor blades, Leonard shoes, Bataan shoes, Kumasi shoe factory, everything we manufactured in this country. So if you were not even manufacturing for export, at least you could manufacture for the domestic market.
25, 26
million people.
That's a big market.
Now, all our industries, warehouses, have become cathedrals, churches.
Preaching for economic transformation or praying.
So we have become so spiritual that we have to fast 42 days to arrest the CD depreciation.
Americans are spiritual.
That we have to take buses to take our bishops, pastors, whatever they call themselves, to Akosombo to pray for the rains to come so that Akosombo will come up.
Amen. Amen.
This is it. This is where we have come. One person that I have missed his lectures is the Dr. Mahmudu Bawumia. Because when Dr. Bawumia was described as an economic and financial expert, Dr. Mahmudu Bawumia was the best person Ghana could look up to. Some call him economic prophet, some called him economic wizard, and because he had worked with the Bank of Ghana, I don't know, as governor, deputy governor, we all believed that at least for once we're going to see some improvement in our economy. So far, what has happened? Since this government came into office, all the factors that work against the development of the economy, the appreciation of our currency, have all turned backwards. Our speedometer is now turning, speedometer of development is now reading backwards. See, Sana, what are the things that affects a country's stability in finance? One is capital accumulation. In economics, we call it capital accumulation. Capital accumulation is just out of the incomes you generate, you invest and you save. That is capital accumulation. So as you accumulate your capital, your foreign exchange become stabilized. You understand? The other thing is your import and export relationship. Like Professor Nino Dona said, what is Ghana exporting? When I was in India, I asked that they should bring us some products because all the other African countries were Tunisia, Algeria, they were exhibiting their country's products. So I said to Minister of Foreign Affairs, they should bring us products. Do you know what they brought? Casapraco, Alombo bitters, those things. Then I said, so what are we going to write as captions? That this is our major exports, isn't it? Then I remembered that of the about 39 or more industries the Osagyefo established, the only one that is left is the Jihawk distilleries. Are you getting the relationship there? As I'm speaking, we have 52 different bitters. Kakai bitters, Alombo bitters, ginseng bitters, whatever bitters. Apurukusu. So this then tells us the drift of our manufacturing. And even if that is our specialty with a comparative advantage, what are the volumes that we are producing for the export market? So Professor Adino Deona said, we used to exchange a ton of cocoa for one VW car. So if a government is not addressing this issue, I say, would even be moderate in their predictions. Are you following what I'm saying? I was thinking that when they were making that much noise about one district, one factory, even if they were not intending to do it, at least they would have followed John Mahama's direction and say that let us reactivate all the or some of the existing industries the Osagyefo left, because whatever Osagyefo put made economic sense to say that we would need textiles for ourselves. So you go to Tama, Sana, you know Tama, from the harbor area all the way to where auto parts, Japan Motors. You see some big buildings there. You know what they were? GTMC, Ghana Textile Manufacturing Company. Prof, you remember that? Yeah. Then we had Acotes. Yeah. You know Acotes? Yeah, you came small, but you met it later. Akosombo Textiles. We had textiles. The only one that has survived is Dumas, GTP, isn't it? Because they are a foreign company. So, like Professor Dino Dawon said, even singlets. Those days, if you pass through an industrial area, before you get to the hilltop, where the SSB is, you know the SSB there? We have towels. They were manufacturing towels and singlets, socks. Where are all those things? And if we don't go back to this, and all we are doing is long-term borrowing without long-term development plan, we will not get anywhere.
Okay.
Do you get my argument?
Yes.
Because you go for a bond for 20 years, 25 years. When you are 72 years, likelihood is that you are not going to take part in the payment. So it's a young man like Senna and the rest who are going to pay, and his children that are going to pay. Not so. Meanwhile, what employment have you given to Senna and his age mate? We are rushing people through this, whatever you call free senior high school. From there they go to the university. And I'm not sure whether all of them can enter the university. So there will be a blockade somewhere. But even the universities as they are now, look at the number of graduates they turn onto the street every day. No wonder today some people are having nice appointment by driving bola tricycles. Bola. Now it's Ghanaians who are driving bola tricycles. If you don't say that I am borrowing to revamp these industries, the match factory, because we use it every day. You know PCC, your lovely place, Takrade, toilet roll. They used to produce toilet roll. How many toilet rolls do you use in a week? Sarah, how many toilet rolls do you use in a month? Kwame Nkrumah said, PCC, one, big one there. And then planted all the things that we're going to do, the trees for the PCC at the Boise area. We've cut it all for firewood. If you go to the Boise in Paho area, there was a whole plantation. You know, between Winneba and Accra, there used to be these tall trees, acacia trees.
Yes.
We were cutting them for export.
Okay.
We've cut them all.
Okay, Ambassador.
My life, you know. Okay, I don't do this, but I'm saying that, like Professor Nidon Done is saying, the elections of this country can no longer be taken for a ride. And nobody should think that serial callers or those who become what? Because they can speak Twi and they can insult on television and radio stations can make a bad policy a good one. I follow what I'm saying. Now, if the economy is not good, it is not good, and everybody knows it's not good. So no matter what spin you put on the issue, the CD will not come up.
Okay.
In the next 5 years, the next government would have to take industrialization very seriously.
Okay.
In the next 5 years, a government that will come should make sure that we have education that is meaningful and not just free.
Okay.
I rest my case.
Yeah. Mr. Pratt.
So now, I mean,
What can I say?
discussion of the currency, we've been discussing it for the better part of 30, 40 years. And I'm not so sure that there is anything to add. The value of your currency in a new colonial third world dependent country like Ghana is a function of production and productivity. That's all. If you are not importing, if you are dependent on the outside world for everything in our current situation, the currency will continue to fall. And indeed, the currency has been falling at such a fantastic speed since 1983. It hasn't stopped falling. You understand? By my last reckoning, the Ghanaian cedi has devalued over 28,000% since 1983. You can't wrap your head around it. It's phenomenal. I mean, crazy. You understand? So we have to start producing. We have to start increasing productivity. We have to industrialize. I mean, everybody knows what to do to stabilize the city. You know, and we are not doing it, so it will continue to fall, you know. As for the finance minister calling on us to tighten our belt, I hope it's not a cruel joke. You know, I hope it's not a cruel joke. Well, a joke that makes us feel the pain even more. And so, you know, tighten belt. I mean, where we've gotten to, all the belt holes are finished. People have tightened down, the belt holes are finished. You understand? So, where are we tightening to? And the irony of the situation is that some people, the trousers they are wearing, there are no belt holes on them. So they can't even wear the belt to tighten.
Pot belly or what?
Yeah.
It's belting.
No, there are no belt holes at all. They don't have belt holes.
They give 14,000 a month. They have belt and braces.
So as for the belting, they should stop talking about it. Look, I recall as a very young man, in the Nkrumah days, when in one of his speeches, he made reference to tightening belt. Come and see what the grandfathers of these Dankwa Buzia people did to Nkrumah. The insult. The insult. And then, how many years later, 40-something years later, the grandsons are telling us what Nkrumah told us, then tighten your belt. I mean, Massa is okay. It's okay.
Well, thank you, Mr. Pratt. You had Kwesi Pratt Jr., who is managing editor of the Inside newspaper. You also had Ambassador Sam Piala, who is president of NDC's Professional Forum. Professor Ninoy Dowona, who is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana. Dr. Eduardo Manibuama is a former communications officer. They joined the program. A former communications minister. They joined the program today to discuss the topics we set out for ourselves. So on Alhaji and Alhaji, the mother of all talk shows. Don't forget the show is sponsored by Apollonia City, Titi Brothers, Ines Fly, Kulun Ghana Limited, Franco Trading Enterprise. A big thank you to Member of Parliament for Joaboso, Kobna Minta Akando. He joined us earlier to talk about the issue with the cocoa producer price that became a topical issue earlier in the week. My name is Sena Nombo.